late this morning. Completely disjointed. Oh, nuts. I'm sorry. I turned off that TV trying to turn on this one. Thought I heard it click. I know those TVs are off trying to turn on that one. It's a Scooby-Doo episode. Alright, let's try this again. Oh, how do I get one and not the other? This shit don't make no sense. I never got an AM news call from, after, in the first break, I'll run down the hall and see if there is something, but 6:06 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we're off and running on this Thursday morning. Has World War III begun? Golly, that sounds... I knew it was going to sound weird to say it out loud. I had it written down, and I was debating, do I actually say this phrase out loud? Has World War III begun? So Russia has begun with the military operations in Ukraine. Now, that's halfway around the world, so we're going to leave as much of that coverage up to our national outlets as possible. I like to keep things as local as I can here. We do have a request in to have one of CBS's reporters on with us in our 8 o'clock hour. Don't yet know if that's going to come through or not because that reporter is actually, the one that I requested is actually in Russia right now. So we'll see. Actually, you know what? While we're doing that, let's run down the lineup. Patrick Grimion, host of the Patty G Show. He's going to be on at 6:35. Lucky Dogs coming to Baton Rouge. If you have not yet had a lucky dog, I highly recommend it. But also, we're going to talk about the business of Mardi Gras. A number of downtown businesses seeing an influx of business over the weekend, last weekend, because of the downtown parades. Will we expect more of that this coming weekend? It's going to be a little bit different of a scene. But this is business we all missed out on last year. And we'll talk about it with Patrick Grimion at 6:35. In the 7 o'clock hour, it's time to get nostalgic. Well, it's actually way past time. Kirby Smith is coming down in a couple months, y'all. The Curb going to be imploded in June. That eyesore of a building that we all love so much. We're going to talk with Pete Trentacoste. He's with Residential Life over at LSU. Maybe share a little bit about the history of the building. It's done a lot more than just be a dormitory. Although, for so many of us, it was a dormitory, myself included. In fact, let me go ahead and solicit your comments now. On the YouTube chat, let me know. Did you live in Kirby Smith, and what was your wildest experience there? Try to keep it PG-13. Oh, I witnessed some gross stuff.
It could easily be R.
You're not on.
It could easily be R-rated.
Bro, it could go beyond that.
Yeah.
The Curb life
It could
was...
be unrated.
Huh. Yeah.
But keep it PG-13, people.
Yeah.
This is...
We'll do our best to
Come on now.
use euphemisms where possible.
Leave some things to the imagination, perhaps.
Yeah. Some things just would happen, and Kirby Smith shows up under a black light. At 7:35, let's talk about reducing the number of opioids that are out there. Tonnage Miles is going to join us for our Crimestoppers segment. There is a new program that Crimestoppers is involved in that is hopefully going to get addicts the help they need, but at the same time attack this from a law enforcement standpoint as well. That's at 7:35. In our 8 o'clock hour, if you missed it on YouTube yesterday, and judging by the numbers you did, if you missed it on YouTube yesterday, we hopped on the phone with DJ Jazzy Jeff after the show yesterday because there is a new show that is basically DJ Jazzy Jeff kind of hesitated to acknowledge it as being called a reboot. But it's a grittier reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It is simply called Bel-Air. It's on the Peacock Network. It starts at night, if I'm not mistaken. And Jazz, since we're good friends now, we're not, but still. Jazz is also hosting the corresponding podcast. We will hear that interview at 8:15. And then in our 8:40 segment, yes, we will talk a little bit about the situation in Russia and Ukraine, as hopefully we'll have a reporter from CBS on with us. If not, there are some implications here at home that we need to take into consideration. One of those is we've already seen a ridiculous increase in gas prices over the last year, and things could get, I don't want to say infinitely worse because it would be finite, but 3-4 times worse than they are right now. I was reading an article yesterday. That article came from, was this at CNBC? I believe it was. Gas prices could get rather ugly in the coming weeks as they rise even higher. They're continuing to climb, could get, quote, rather ugly, according to GasBuddy.com. In the Harrisburg area, I assume this is Pennsylvania, prices have increased 6.3 cents a gallon in the past week for an average price of $3.72 a gallon. So while we think we have it bad here, that's a good 50 cents a gallon higher than what we average. According to Gas Buddy, gas prices in central Pennsylvania are 22.3 cents a gallon higher than a month ago and 87.6 cents higher than a year ago. National average has increased 3 cents a gallon in the last week, posting up at about $3.51 a gallon today, meaning yesterday. With tension still very high that Russia may invade Ukraine, so keep in mind this was this quote-unquote went to print before the actual invasion. Gasoline prices kept moving higher, tugged by the rising price of oil as the market concentrates on possible outcomes from the situation that could affect global production amidst recovering demand. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis for Gas Buddy, says this. I'm going to skip to the bottom of the page because we got to get to our first break. How does $7 a gallon strike you? Could you even afford to get to work? That is one of the many projections. The projections are all over the place, and I honestly don't think it would get to $7 a gallon. But the fact that they're talking about it in these terms is alarming enough. All right, we got a break. We're going to talk sports. So, rough night for LSU athletics last night. That's an understatement. Tigers had a double-digit lead in basketball in the first half. Didn't really pan out. Baseball Tigers went up to Ruston. Didn't really pan out. We'll break both of those down next on Talk 107.3 FM. Before we hit that break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. You'll find them downtown on 3rd Street. If you're going to Spanish Town this Saturday, I highly recommend swinging by Mathern's. Grab yourself a couple six-packs, or maybe even more, since it is, after all, Spanish Town. Grab yourself a little something to eat because you're going to be imbibing because it is, after all, Spanish Town. But more than that, it's a full-service grocery store. And not just for special occasions like parading or tailgating. It's a full-service grocery store every day. And they're not just downtown. They're on Nicholson, just across the street from Tiger Stadium in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. So, if you find yourself around campus and need to knock out your grocery shopping, you could do that. If you had the Mathern's app, it's even easier because you do your grocery shopping from the app. They bring it out to your car, and you're good to go. Still a few days left to get a king cake, y'all. Still, well, technically today and tomorrow if you want to bring a king cake by the office. You could probably bring one by Monday, but, aren't we all moving on to Lent when I get to tell you about beer and crawfish at Mathern's? That's next week. Right now, though, it is still your parade headquarters, downtown on 3rd or Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, Mathern's Market. I let in Patty G. First of all, good morning, sweetheart. Welcome in, boo. You're probably as much on a struggle bus as I am. Oh, I got him, Jake.
One more time before we're in the clear. So I can get you some tissues somewhere. Thank you. It hits you. Wait. That's not always the case. Yeah. Actually. I don't have to be on air much at all. By the time it turns 8 o'clock, half hours, so yeah, kind of ready for it. Just gotta make sure you're awake. Any cuts?
I didn't have a chance yet.
No worries, ready for Red Bull. We only got a minute. Tax question for you. All right. Not on the air. Yeah.
No, I'm stupid. Yeah, no. I am. It's not all the time, just when I don't sleep.
So I say you're right then?
Yeah.
3 hours.
What? Have sleep?
Yeah.
About 1.5.
You should have just pulled an all-nighter at that point.
I can't do it anymore.
You can at this age. When you get to Brian's age.
You're like 3 years older than him.
Am I really? How old are you? 23. No? When did you turn 23? December. I'm only 2 years older than you.
Believe it or not, I'm used to being young for this business. News talk is often an old guy's business.
True. That is true.
No, I got nothing over here.
I'm sure your
Let me-
description and commentary would be plenty for this segment.
Oh, no, for sports? No cuts for sports. Abysmal last night.
Yeah, that's fair.
618 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Where to start? Such a rough night for LSU sports last night. Kind of encouraging on the basketball front when you go to the number 6 team in the nation. You can establish a double-digit lead, and you can give them a game at the end. Those two statements separately, either one of those would be great, but when you combine the two, it was just rough sledding for LSU men's basketball last night as they fall at Kentucky. Give me 1 second here. They fall at Kentucky. 71-66, your final score there. LSU did have a double-digit lead at one point in the first half. I believe they were up by 8 going into halftime. Rough night for a number of Tigers as Tari Eason got into foul trouble very, very early. He did not have a whole lot of minutes. He did not have a whole lot of points. If you were – I apologize, y'all. I'm trying to grab some internet access on this, and it's just not working to look at the box score. It was encouraging on the front end because LSU was able to establish a double-digit lead against Kentucky, who was missing a couple players. But on the back end, it's frustrating when how many times during LSU's losing streaks or losing 6 out of 7, how many times did we hear, Well, when you're down by double digits and you expend all your energy to get back in the game, it's just impossible to get over the hump at that point. Well, that's exactly what Kentucky did to them last night. It's exactly what happened to them last weekend as well. Anyway, LSU basketball comes home to face Missouri this Saturday. They could really get into the tournament with just one more win. We'd prefer two, but just one more. Meanwhile, up in Ruston, Louisiana, no time. I tell you what, I'll break it down next. 11-6 LSU baseball loses. Here comes the Fox Business Report. Really don't like the fact that this takes everything to...
By the way, Brian, I told you yesterday that the Champions League could potentially be moved out of St. Petersburg.
You did?
Just announced.
Okay.
Huh?
Said you did?
I did. It's soccer, so I assume
That is correct.
came out, but still relevant news. Hope Ministries at 46 probably knock you out the second.
Yep.
Haldane here. If you want to knock off a few pounds in 2022, maybe adopt some healthier lifestyle choices, I dropped 60 in 2021.
By the way, I
Did it with folks over at Go Slim
kind of gave up on trying to read this, so I looked up something close to that. Is it Peter Trentacoste?
Yes.
or just visit them on Blue Pond and Permanent Road. With Go Slim, it's
That's what they told me in the email was Pete.
overall weight loss program. GEAUX, slimvr.com or 763.
Were you unable to read the first name?
No, the second.
Okay. I'm looking at it. That's a copy.
The second, third, and fourth letter.
R-E-N. Okay, I can see that. It's kind of scribbled.
Start with everyone whose mom was even more superhuman than usual this past year. Down to those who want to show their appreciation and have a quiet
Did I delete the email and just not see it? What the crap?
fragrances and personalized photo gifts you can create and pick up the same day. Personalized. Oh, she'll love that. Shop Walgreens for gifts she'll love in an instant. This week, get up to
No.
50% off photo gifts. Offer good through 5/22. Restrictions apply. See walgreens.com/photo for details. Hello, this is Discover, and we take customer service very seriously. We know that if you have a question or concern about your credit card, that's a serious matter, and you need to talk to a real person about it. So we offer around-the-clock access to seriously talented representatives in the USA. Again, it's a serious endeavor. The only thing
No.
about it is Bob. If you call us at
I just never got one.
for a treat. Get 100% US-based customer service and talk to a real person day or night. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
No problems on I-10, 12, and 110. It's a quiet Frontier morning, and the ferry is in service, unlike yesterday. 12 eastbound Bathurst to Hammond, about 34 minutes, and just over an hour from Bathurst to New Orleans. So the green light for both outbound folks and inbound, too. Let's check on some
624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Got my internet up, so let's run this down. Continuing that sports segment real quick. Tari Eason ran into foul trouble really early for LSU basketball last night. He only saw 13 minutes on the whole night, 13 minutes in the whole game, and only scored 5 points. It was Xavier Penson's night last night. He had 26. Darius Days had 10. Eric Gaines had 11. But LSU falls short. They lose 71-66 at Kentucky. Now, on the surface, if I told you before the game, hey, LSU men's basketball is going into the house of the number 6 team in the nation, it's going to be a raucous crowd. They're going to get one of two guys back from injury that they were expecting to get back, although I don't think they got either one of them back. No, they did not. But a team that scored, 91 over the weekend with two guys on the shelf with injury, LSU's only going to lose by 5, you'd probably take that. But when LSU starts out like a house of fire and has a 12-point lead in the first half, has an 8-point lead at the half, you can kind of see the inevitable happening because the Tigers have done this so many times this season. But if I told you ahead of time, they're going to lose to Kentucky, you'd think, yeah, probably. Meanwhile, LSU baseball was on the road last night. They were up in North Louisiana, in Ruston, actually, taking on Louisiana Tech. And it was a rough go of it in the field for the Tigers last night. LSU had 6 runs on 7 hits. They committed 5 errors. Louisiana Tech posted up 11 runs on 12 hits and committed no errors. La Tech only had, of 8 innings where they actually hit, because, you're winning going into the bottom of the ninth. You don't have to. Only 3 innings where they didn't post up a run. Their line score went 2-2-1-0-0-4-2-0. That's a strong night. So, baseball drops one up at La Tech, but you got to keep in mind a couple things. Number one, you post up a winning record in the SEC and everything will be fine. Number two, if you're La Tech, that's like your World Series. What do you got, 2,500, 3,000 max capacity at La Tech, including that right field berm, standing room only? Well, it was standing room only. And that's their biggest game of the season, is to have LSU come to town. They're going to go their entire conference schedule and not be more hyped about a game. Whereas LSU, it's another midweek game, NBD. So, the baseball Tigers will come back home for a weekend series, I believe, against Towson. We're going to dive into the business of Mardi Gras in just a little bit. Our next segment, Patrick Grimion, host of the Patty G Show, is going to hop on board. Before we get you to that, though, got to remind you about Rise LA. Rise LA's conference is coming up real soon, y'all. We're less than a month away, March 22nd. Louisiana, our unemployment numbers have been doing well, but there is a workforce crisis that just persists. And the next step of the workforce crisis is going to be maintaining or retaining the employees that are coming back to the workforce post-pandemic. How do you keep an edge while maintaining or increasing your company's profits? Fred Keller, founder and chair of Cascade Engineering, he figured out a way. He changed the way his company did business. He's gotten hundreds of low to middle income employees off of welfare while increasing profits. And he can show you his ways. He can teach you how to do it. Go to risela.biz, risela.biz. It's coming up March 22nd, their business and industry luncheon. Louisiana can be ahead of the game when it comes to the workforce crisis overall. RiseLA.biz. Rise LA, we all rise together. All right, like I said, we're talking about the business of Mardi Gras in our next segment and a few other business-related items. A lot of food-related items today. Lucky Dogs coming to Baton Rouge. We've also got, I forgot the name of the bread company. I'm going to have to look that up during the break. Do I? Bread Zeppelin. That's right. How many Zeppelin references can we get? Because we got the pizza place, right? There's already Red Zeppelin. Now you got Bread Zeppelin. We'll dive in with Patrick Grimion in our next segment. Hey, this is not good news. You knew it was coming, though. The Public Service Commission yesterday decided to go ahead and allow Entergy to increase or give us a surcharge. An independent regulatory board has given Entergy the go-ahead to add an additional charge to customers' bills for the next 15 years. Louisiana Public Service Commission voted 4-1 in favor of the increase, which Entergy says will help it recoup more than $3 billion spent on repairs associated with major storms in recent years. Customers could start seeing the charge, what the company said will cost around $8 on their bills as soon as May. Entergy proposed the surcharge in the wake of Hurricane Ida, which knocked out power for thousands of people across the state for weeks on end last year. Entergy refused to do an interview with our news partners at WBRZ about the additional charge for their customers, but they did put out a statement. That statement read, in part, on February 23rd, the Louisiana Public Service Commission approved Entergy Louisiana's request to finance $3.2 billion in storm costs using low-cost bonds through a process called securitization. Securitization permits cost to be financed with generally lower-cost capital and is projected to save customers billions over the long term compared with methods of financing. So there you have it. Entergy is going to save us money by charging us an extra $8 a month for the next 15 years. Just sounds silly to say it out loud. Quick break. When we come back, we're talking business with Patrick Grimmy on next. Can you throw that away? Recycle it, please. That's what I meant, of course.
So what's your question?
What do you mean? Yes, please. Yeah, I don't know how to
Not
make
working
that.
so well.
It hasn't been, and I don't know what's wrong with it.
Dude, The Advocate and clickbaits as of late. Did you see the article that they posted yesterday?
I saw a bunch of them.
The article title was Catholic High School in Baton Rouge Cuts Ties with Cristo Rey. They're talking about a Catholic high school that's something Cristo Rey, not Catholic High. But they phrased the article title to grab
Right.
people.
No, hang on. I'm over news across the board. The freaking Daily Report yesterday said Bill Cassidy's the front runner for governor.
Yeah.
No.
Like, are you having to craft these article titles because you're losing viewership and
Yes.
readers?
Yes, you are.
Because I immediately went to the comments on The Advocate, and everyone said I had to read this entire article just to realize they were not talking about Catholic High on Government Street.
And the editors over at The Advocate said, hey, they read the entire article.
Yeah,
That means they saw the pop-up ads and all the other shit that goes along with it.
yeah. Whereas they should have been like, the article title could have said, open quotations, close quotations, a Catholic high school in Baton Rouge, not Catholic
I
high
don't
school.
see that particular article, but then again, if something doesn't garner enough clicks in the first 5 minutes, it gets pushed to the bottom of the page. So, yeah, and that algorithm feeds the clickbait as well. Because before I can find an article on Cristo Rey, I have to see an article titled, "Which First Lady Wore a $46,000 inauguration dress?"
All right, so they
'Cause
must have,
that's effing important to Baton Rouge right now.
they must have changed it. Now it says a Catholic high school in Baton Rouge is changing its name, dropping ties to Cristo
I
Rey
see.
Network.
It's number 9 on the most popular.
Yeah. Like, but you know that people are clicking on it because they're saying Catholic High. Because no one's going to read an article that's titled Cristo Rey Franciscan Baton Rouge High School.
I'll tell you what, though.
What?
What does Franciscan mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that they're going to be tied to Our Lady of Light?
I don't know.
And I had lunch with them. Come on. .638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Time to welcome in Patrick Grimion. He's the host of the Patty G Show. He joins me every Thursday to talk business. What's happening, dude?
Good morning, Brian. Good morning. Good morning.
Glad to have you on this morning.
I'm glad to be here. It's Thursday.
Yeah, it
Nice.
is. I don't know what that means, though.
One day closer to the weekend, maybe? One day closer to some cooler weather? I don't know. What is Thursday?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, one day closer to cooler weather for sure. Because we're going to, like you heard Marissa's forecast just right there, we are going to get some patchy rain and then cooler weather tomorrow. We got a lot of business to cover this morning, and I don't know where to begin because I kind of want to knock out the food stuff just to get it knocked out. But the bigger topic here is what we all missed out on in Louisiana last year by not having Mardi Gras.
Right.
And-
I'd say that is the bigger topic. And also another bigger topic is looking at the conversation in the articles from 2 years ago as we come up on the 2-year anniversary of when COVID hit and how the articles were about food vendors shutting down. They're having to close their doors. They're not able to do anything. And now it's the exact opposite.
Right. Where is this article coming from? WBRZ, the first big Mardi Gras weekend in Baton Rouge in 2 years provided much more than festive fun for residents. Businesses along the routes, including some brand new ones, took full advantage. Quote, it was a huge influx of business because of the added foot traffic. Charles Daniel, owner of Go Bike, said, not only did it bring new customers, returning customers, but it also gave exposure to the brand and to the business to people who don't normally come downtown. So Go Bike is probably the smallest microcosm of an example of a business. I mean, you could not pick a more niche market in Baton Rouge, a more niche market to show an influx in business. But if Rent-A-Bikes can show a boost, and this is, when you stop and think about it, it sounds, oh, that's natural. But at the same time, though, you're driving downtown to go to a parade. You get out the car, you unload the car, you set up your whole, parade, tailgate, whatever, along the route. Are you renting a bike to drive around somewhere else?
Clearly people are.
I know.
And I mean, if that niche of a market is having an uptick in sales and an uptick in foot traffic, imagine what the more popular brands are having right now.
So, and that's what I wanted to explore is, what are we going to see after Mardi Gras is over with? And I know you don't have an answer to this right now, so we'll revisit this after Mardi Gras. But as far as the businesses that are open along the route, we've seen in the past where businesses along the route that have to shut down during parades, problematic, in New Orleans at least. There's not enough parades for it to make a huge difference up here. But those that are open along the route that missed out on this influx last year, which this time last year, we weren't under a whole lot of restrictions. This time last year, there were no parades, but
it was
there were no
canceled.
Though Mardi Gras was canceled, but like let's say you're Schlitz and Giggles.
Okay.
All right. You weren't going to have the walk-up traffic just to buy a slice of pizza that you're going to have, or that you had over last weekend and you're going to have this weekend. Like, you weren't going to have the number of people who just converged on downtown. So it's going to be, was talking with Deck Terrell from LSU. He's in their economics department. Was talking with him the other day. He says it's remarkable the lack of studies there are of the economic impacts of Mardi Gras.
Yeah, I mean, why study it when it's only pertaining to certain states? Like who?
Because you want to know how much your state's taking advantage of it.
And so there's none in Baton Rouge. Like, Visit Baton Rouge doesn't do anything like that. Louisiana Travel doesn't do anything
We could
like
show
that.
an uptick in hotel stays.
And that's it?
Yeah. Number of people that take off and land from BTR or from Armstrong.
And see, I would figure there would be plenty of research and analytics based on, like, restaurants seeing that.
That's what I would have thought, too.
People come in and
That's what I
go to a parade and then go eat lunch somewhere in New Orleans and then go back to another parade.
So when it comes to courting something like the Final Four, which is coming back to New Orleans, or the Super Bowl, or whether or not the state wants to re-up with the Saints or finance more renovations to the Superdome, these things all involve asking for state dollars or some kind of incentivization package. So they have to have a study to show what the ROI is. They have to have a study to show how much we turn off of every dollar. Mardi Gras is going to Mardi Gras whether we pay for it or not, so nobody's bothered. Crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, I would still think it's a statistic you want to know. What do people come here for?
Right.
More.
Right.
Do we have more people here whenever we have a Mardi Gras event versus having the Final Four or whatever? Like, those numbers I would be fascinated to understand and kind of take a deep dive into.
Same.
Because do some restaurants only have a location in one place just because of Mardi Gras? Like some places focus big on St. Patrick's Day here in Baton Rouge?
Right.
Like Earl's for St. Patrick's Day?
Dude, Earl's for St. Patrick's Day is huge.
I know.
And I've never been.
That's one of the biggest events that they have. It is the biggest event they have all year.
I love how St. Patrick's Day, the wearing of the green parade, and the fact that it is so definitive as to what is family and what is raucous.
Yeah.
As opposed to Spanish Town, which is coming up this weekend, which the whole thing is just, there's no quote-unquote family area. And there's a family area, but the raucousness is the parade itself.
Right. You don't get that with wearing the green parade.
No.
And I'd be curious to see the numbers after this year of people that stayed in Baton Rouge and didn't go to New Orleans because of the restrictions they have in place.
Not just the restrictions, but
Or the requirements to do anything in
I was
New
going to say the
Orleans.
crime.
And the crime.
The carjackings this year are through the roof. The homicide rate is through the roof. I mean, we have our own problems with homicide, but if you're in the city where the problem's happening, you kind of get to understand why it's happening and where it's happening and what's not happening downtown.
Yeah, we're not going to New Orleans this year for Mardi Gras.
Right. So is that
Let
going
alone
to
the
have-
reason we have a new baby. It's just like it's not. That's right now. People doing donuts in the middle of I-10. That's not a safe place to be.
when the mayor is calling out for more state troopers, which honestly is not the first time that's happened. It's just being framed in a different light this time around. It makes sense to bring more state troopers into New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Put the state troopers on the interstates, let NOPD concentrate on
the actual Mardi
the
Gras
quarter and uptown and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
But they've shortened parade routes, so the businesses that used to be on some of those
Which
parade
sucks,
routes,
by the way.
yeah, they've shortened them, they've changed them up, and now you got these businesses that were used to having their storefront right there on the parade route, saying, "Come tailgate with us, watch the parade." Now they can't do that.
Okay, so let's bring that back to the beginning of the conversation, the earlier part of the conversation, where we talk about how there's nothing reliable to extrapolate just what kind of economic impact there's going to be. That's even worse this year.
So how could we measure it?
Garbage.
You think?
That's the way they've always done it. That's the way they've always, they judge the success of Mardi Gras by the tonnage of garbage.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite Louisiana tidbits. Is the tonnage of garbage tells you how successful Mardi Gras was.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a terrible stat to look at.
No, but it
Just
it,
because of,
it
like,
does
the
make
waste
sense,
and
though.
the garbage,
You
but it
could
makes
tell how many
sense.
people were along the route. You could tell how many people were out there. You could tell how much. Well, I mean, you can't know the difference between a 12-pack of Natty Light and a 12-pack of Tin Roof. And there's going to be a difference in price there. And you can't tell who's staying at a Super 8 and who is staying at the Hyatt. And there's going to be a difference in price there. And those differences in prices are going to affect the city's bottom line.
Well,
But at the same time, though, you can get a general gauge for how many people were there.
that's what I was about to say. Are you gauging the number of people there? Are you gauging the number of economic dollars influx into the city?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can, like you said, you can't quantify the dollars spent for
All
a
right.
12-pack of Natty.
We got to take a break. We'll talk more about a 12-pack of Natty next. Going to take a break. Going to hit your money now traffic. Coming right back. He's Patrick Grimion.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answer at MurphyLawFirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you. Make the right decision. Don't leave money on the table. Visit MurphyLawFirm.com.
I should not have taken that game last night.
928-8800. Main office back in
How late did the game go to?
I left there at 11:15. Oh, gosh. And the problem is when I'm doing a game, I'm doing a game.
Yeah.
I'm dialed. Like, I'm not. I bring my laptop and I try to show prep and it just doesn't work. It's my own fault.
Yeah. But I woke up with a
And if it weren't for yesterday having been such a butthole of a day, I had a funeral yesterday for a friend.
yeah.
That, like, packed house. I mean,
Jeez.
the house was packed like it was Easter Sunday. Just absolute giant of a man. Not physically, but there's no better guy out there. Paul Catalanato passed away late last week. His funeral was yesterday.
Yeah, this week has been.
Couldn't imagine loving a man anymore who wasn't my father, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, YouTube, I haven't even jumped on yet this morning. Good morning, everybody on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I wish my wife a good morning already. I hope so, because she's in the middle of the getting the kids ready circus right now. So,
Are you thinking about a new vehicle? Come to Corbell Toyota in Appalachia and pre-order a 2022
okay.
Toyota. It's an easy process, and Toyotas are giving you our lot.
Nope. And I was gonna go take go try to lay down after the show, but I forgot. I'm talking about aliens with an author after the show today. So, Avi Loeb, top Harvard astronomer. I didn't know they did aliens over at Harvard. Yeah,
Clearly,
Avi
clearly
Loeb.
they do.
Yeah, they do. He's the author of Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. I mean, I don't know about first sign. I saw Plan 9 from outer space. That was a long ass time ago.
Wait, so why? You can measure the success of Mardi Gras based on sales tax.
No, because you'd have to reduce how much sales tax was going to happen within that time frame without Mardi Gras.
But historically, when was the last time, outside of COVID, that the city didn't have Mardi Gras impacting their February, March bottom line?
You would think it would have been World War II, but no, it was a police strike.
Yeah. Yes. Because I did Mardi Gras trivia last year, and so I remember that being the question.
I would have thought if there were any reason to have canceled Mardi Gras throughout the history of Louisiana, it would have been World War II.
No police strike.
No.
We don't have police. We don't have enough police to.
70s, I believe. And that's why they've shortened routes this year.
Yeah, they just don't have enough. Well, I mean, would you want to be a cop down there?
No.
Especially as of late. Like now they got some social media craze going who can do the craziest stunt in public.
This is vaguely related, but I saw a post on social media recently of these kids in high school. It's a public school, I assumed, but they have a police officer there during their lunch, and he was sat in the equivalent of like a lifeguard chair, one that's propped up like 10 feet in the air, just like watching over everybody so like they can stop whatever could be happening.
Like a prison yard tower, man.
Yeah. I think the joke writes itself, so I don't really need to comment on that further. It's just funny.
Yeah, but why couldn't you do sales tax?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about Lucky Dogs.
All right. Which I've never.
And Bread Zeppelin.
So I looked at Bread Zeppelin's menu.
I didn't. Wait, I got to make this joke, though.
Did you read the full article?
Yeah. About the bikes?
No, not about the bikes, but about Bread Zeppelin.
No. I'm on a low-carb diet.
Red Zeppelin pizzeria owner refused to comment about the name.
Did Robert Plant? Is he even alive? Because that joke's going to suck if he's dead.
I don't know.
650. Oh, excuse me. That one jumped up on me. 652, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got Patrick Grimmy on in studio trying to figure out the meaning of Thursday. Not really.
It's an unanswered question, Brian.
It is. What is the meaning of Thursday? It's not really Friday.
It's not.
You don't have the excitement of Hump Day, where camels walk through your office in Geico commercials.
Right, but can you get excited for Thursday for being Thirsty Thursday, or is the constant reminder you have to get up in the morning?
Thursday was so good in college.
Right, but now
because
you're older, you got
knew
Fridays.
You were pregame until 10, then hitting Tigerland. God, I'm old. And then, like, you weren't going to class before noon on Friday, and if you had a class afternoon, it was optional. Completely. And then you went to the Note Depot to get caught up, and you have
Note
no...
Depot?
Oh, man. So, we didn't
Is that
have,
like a library?
Kind of like a library, where you'd go in and you'd purchase notes that a more studious student took.
That wasn't illegal?
I don't know. I mean, they never carded me or anything, but yeah, Note Depot.
Interesting.
It's like, yeah, I missed Chem 1201. Okay, here you go. Boom.
How much are these notes?
That'll be about
Like
$3.50.
a quarter?
Like $8.
Price of a gallon of gas back
I don't
then?
know. Like, the problem was you could never check to see how accurate the notes were before paying for them.
What are you going to check on?
It's like, you get home after paying for your notes, like, this guy's a bigger moron than me.
His
I
notes
could
are
have
worse
done
than
this, and I
mine.
slept through class.
This ain't even chemistry.
It's terrible. Quote, so the guy that owns Go Bike, I don't mean to pick on him, was it Charles Daniel, owner of Go Bike, says, so many people just coming to rent bikes. No, they're not. They're coming for a parade. You just happen to be there. No, he says, Mardi Gras is a park and walk type of thing. So having the ability of a bike, if it allowed people to, navigate through the parades, go and eat, spend time with family, and to see downtown at the different spots, I think it was huge, which is awesome. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. It's like that is just one, like we said, one tiny niche of a tiny market.
Right.
But if they're producing dividends, then we should all be seeing them.
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of people are using bikes, I'd be worried about a BUI, but,
Is that a thing?
biking under influence, maybe.
I cannot envision a world. Well, first of all, can you drink and bike at the same time? Like, because if I have the option of riding a bike from point A to point B, but I have to put down my beer and get another beer once I get there, I'm hoofing it.
I mean,
I mean, no offense to Go Bike. Fantastic product. I love the concept.
right.
But no, beer over bike all day long.
So you're operating the bike, right? So I would say you probably could get a BUI, biking under the influence. Now, the other question is...
Are there cup holders?
Well, of course there's cup holders.
There's cup holders on a Go. We should reach out to Go Bike to find out if they have cup holders.
My bigger question, can you get a DUI or something while riding a horse?
I don't think so.
Can you argue they are driving themselves and you're just along for the ride?
It's not a horse, it's a Tesla. This is going to leave the rails. We got to stick. We
started talking about how to measure Mardi Gras over the break, right? And
Yes.
we said it's done by tonnage of garbage. My question to you was, why don't we do it from sales tax?
Because you're going to have a base of sales tax that's going to happen whether or not Mardi Gras happens or not.
But are you going to have the same uptick if Mardi Gras doesn't happen?
You don't have the point of reference.
Because Mardi Gras has been around for so
you're not
long.
going to have the same uptick, but there is no way to tell how much you have within that period of time, within that time frame. There's no way to know unless you have a side-by-side with and without Mardi Gras. We only have 2 examples of it happening, and one of those doesn't count because we were in the middle of a pandemic, so everybody's spending patterns were off.
Yeah, I mean, does it then just become like another seasonal experience within the companies?
Yeah.
They get upticks for, every holiday. Is Mardi Gras just another example of an uptick in a holiday?
It's one of those things where it's just so understood,
Yeah.
nobody bothers. So there's a new fast casual restaurant brand that's looking to come to Baton Rouge. They want to expand their franchise in the Baton Rouge area. And by the way, with keto, with paleo, with Go Slim Nutrition, with so many protein-based diets, I applaud Bread Zeppelin for just saying, you know what, screw it. We're all in on the carbs, baby. I would rather see a Kraft mac and cheese outlet at this point.
And you look at their menu and you look at the concept and you think about, why do you eat a salad, right?
Because it's healthy, it's flavorful.
Right. So let's take that and stuff it into a loaf of bread.
Okay. Baton Rouge is an ideal market for the brand. Vincent Giannata, Bread Zeppelin's vice president of franchising, said in a prepared statement, and he specifically named Corporate Boulevard and Roseanne as areas that offer a good demographic for the restaurant. The name is strikingly similar to Baton Rouge's Red Zeppelin Pizza, which is not too far from Roseanne, by the way. The owner of Red Zeppelin did not have a comment. Did any of the members of Led Zeppelin have a comment? Bread Zeppelin is currently speaking to locally based candidates and hopes to identify a franchise partner that will develop the brand in Baton Rouge. The restaurant is a salad meets sandwich concept, which by its definition is merely a sandwich.
But is it a sandwich, though? It's not. The bread's not sliced in half. It's stuffed in.
Okay.
Or is it more like a burrito?
Are we going to get into the whole, what defines a sandwich debate? Is a hot dog a sandwich? Is a taco a sandwich? I'm not getting into that debate. Anyway, it's a lot of bread.
So much bread. I mean, it's like a bread bowl for your salad.
Right. It's like Panera and Fresh Junkie had a baby. Lucky Dog's coming to Baton Rouge.
Just in time for Mardi Gras.
Yes. Have you ever had a Lucky Dog?
I have not. And now that's in Baton Rouge, now I've got a much easier access to it.
Totally have to remedy that.
I know.
I've never had a Lucky Dog sober. I have no idea if they're actually good. My entire life.
You should
childhood.
Go this weekend and get you one while you're sober.
Yeah. It's a New Orleans staple, obviously.
I know.
But Lucky Dog is here now, and that's awesome. What's on the Patty G show this week?
The Patty G show this week, we had Nick Pintus of Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge.
Oh!
Dude, we got into some deep conversation around company culture, building a team, and
See,
what defines a community within an organization.
That's a way better discussion than what defines a sandwich and what defines a Thursday. Where was this? Where was this 10 minutes ago? It's available wherever you get your podcasts on demand and right here on the Saturdays on Demand lineup. He's Patrick Gremion, host of the Patty G Show. I tell you what, that's a good conversation for us to pick up next week.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Here comes the CBS World News Roundup.
Protect your return. The Presley Group.
WBRP, Baker, Baton Rouge, 98.1 HD3, Talk 107.3 FM, the new.
I'm not doing so hot.
Me neither, dude. I had a sinus headache wake up moment on Sunday, and it's just carried over throughout the whole week. Had to take the week off of the gym because I realized as I was playing with Quentin, leaning over, and everything just rushed into my head. I'm like, nope, not going to work out. That would be bad. Doing a bench press, all of a sudden the bar just falls on you because your head gets so congested you can't breathe.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
That would be very bad. How much you bench?
I haven't done a flat bar bench in a while. I just use dumbbells.
Size dumbbells.
50s.
Okay.
I mean, you got to realize I've
What do you weigh?
2 years off of working out. I'm about $195.
50s are good.
I haven't worked out in 3 years. I'm just getting back into it. So I'm building up, getting
I'm
there.
only 10 pounds heavier than you.
I guess so.
Damn. All right.
It do be like that.
Bayou Gal says, just an FYI, folks have been arrested for DUI while riding a horse, a tractor, and a lawnmower. Google it.
I've seen the lawnmower.
Watch it. Watch this
The
response.
lawnmower.
Yeah, but what about outside of Florida?
I mean, I get the lawnmower. I get the tractor. You were operating that vessel.
A lawnmower, I've seen an arrest for a DUI on a lawnmower, and that actually did happen in Florida.
Yeah.
But a
But, like-
horse is a different.
Like the horse, because I've seen a video of a guy get stopped on a horse, and the officer was like, sir, have you been drinking? He says, yes, sir, but my horse hasn't. He knows how to get home. He says, I'm just along for the ride.
I'm pretty sure that was an episode of Reno 911. I don't think that was a real police stop.
No, there was another one in Florida. But I mean, come on, the horse. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Coming up later, the lizard that took Hollywood by storm. Iguana being pictures.
Oh, jeez. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever gone on a trail ride for a horse?
Yes.
Like in those like guided trails?
Not in the mountains, in Folsom.
Yeah. How much of the navigating did you actually do on the horse?
I felt like a lot. I felt like it was me. I felt like it was all me. But I have an ego. So.
Those horses go down the same trail every single day. They can do it.
Yeah, they do.
blindfold.
Yeah, but they
sit
don't
there-
get you home from Uncle Earl's.
Oh, they might. How many times do you ride the horse to Uncle Earl's? If you're a frequent.
Dave Attell, who's coming a little bearish, has a great joke about. I read a news article about a guy having sex with a dog. Why would you do that? A dog's supposed to be a man's best friend. Besides, if you're going to have sex with an animal, it needs to be a horse. Because a horse is a beautiful animal. And if you have sex with a horse, you know you have a ride home.
So bad.
But it's great!
It's so bad. That's so bad.
Just saying. Yeah, the horse does know his way home, probably. Or, but does the horse know a better route to get there? Because that's why you got pulled over in the first place.
It needs a more secretive route.
I would think any route you take, if you see a horse,
I've seen a
Like,
dude riding a horse down Seagan
clip
Lane.
clopping up Seagan Lane.
I've seen that guy. That's a good question. You're going down to the bar on Seagan and getting a ride home. I mean, it's a mode of transportation.
All right, so now let's really muddy the waters. What about a rickshaw? Like if you got a horse-pulled rickshaw.
Ooh, no, because now you're directing. Ooh, this sounds like a legally served situation.
God, I hope not. France, I would not. No. that would go down so many different rabbit holes.
Save a bud, ride a horse. You know.
Oh God.
Anywho, y'all have a good weekend.
You too.
Get some sleep. And you saw my text. I cannot do Mardi Gras.
I know.
Tax season, man. We don't even get off.
Yeah, I gotta take a vacation day, but I'm hopefully working on it.
Okay. I mean, if you're in a pinch and you can't find anybody, I can probably make something work.
It's all right. I got it.
But otherwise,
All good.
see y'all. Be safe. Don't get pulled over on your horse.
I'll do my best. Okay.
Some dense fog may be forming over ridges in near bodies of water again this morning.
Is our
Temperatures are
guest
vastly different.
this next segment? Is he coming in for
It's calling.
Closer to the coast, waking up near 70 degrees, while northern areas are in the 50s. A cold front is sitting just north of East Baton Rouge Parish and will cause a temperature difference of nearly 20 degrees as we head into the afternoon.
I'm writing
Baton
the
Rouge
post a little bit
areas
right
where
now.
we'll see temperatures in the
Mhm.
mid-80s
Kirby
with
Smith
some
Hall. Do I
spotty
capitalize
showers.
Hall?
Northern
No.
Yes.
barely scratch 70 degrees today. Tonight, the front will work its way all the way into the south. Everyone will wake up with temperatures much cooler tomorrow morning. Friday,
Get some water.
showers.
I forgot to bring my gallon in. Give me 10 seconds. Oh. I'm on a new EDM jam now. Yeah. 7:06. Talk 103 FM WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Thanks again to Patrick Grimion. Though I don't know what for. He sat on the best topic the entire time. Any Hoosers. We got a full hour coming your way this hour. That's a stupid thing to say. Of course we do. What are we going to leave this station dead? We've got Pete Trentacoste coming on. He's with LSU's Residential Life. Kirby Smith, your days are numbered. Building's going to be imploded later on this year. Now, that being said, Kirby Smith has had a run and a half. I want to know on YouTube, what are your Kirby Smith stories that you can share, edit appropriately. This isn't Spanish Town, y'all. The parade, not the actual neighborhood. Got to live in Kirby Smith for a full semester, and that was all I could take before finding an apartment. Kirby Smith was phenomenal and awful and phenomenal. So sound off on YouTube. Let us know. Let us know what was it like when you were living the Curb life. Also, was it state law that if you lived in Kirby Smith, you had to have your car broken into at least once? I'm pretty sure that was actually written out in law. Could be wrong. Let me know. Kirby Smith being imploded in a couple months. We will talk with LSU's Residential Life in our next segment about that. Also, let's talk about getting some opioids off the streets. Tanja Miles is going to join us for our Crimestoppers segment. There's a new program coming out that I got to tell you, when I first read about it, I was kind of like, what? And then after a minute, I was like, oh. How about taking people who are arrested and sent to seek treatment for opioids and maybe offering them the opportunity to, for lack of a better term, give up their dealer? This could prove to be beneficial. We're going to talk with Tanja Miles in our Crime Stopper segment. Of course, we'll end the hour with the Outside In. Hey, every day the folks at Complete Collision bring you top stories in trending. And every day I love telling you about the folks over at Complete Collision, as they know what they're doing Like, it's important to know what you're doing. It's important to be knowledgeable and have a knowledge base and the certifications to back up that knowledge base. When it comes to finding hidden damage, when it comes to knowing the difference between fixing one model of car and another, when it comes to these things, you can have a dozen major car manufacturers sound off and say, hey, we made this car. We recommend you take it to Complete Collision. If the folks who made the car say it, I'm listening. And then there's the iCar Gold Class certification, which puts them in the top 15% of body shops nationwide. You can learn more about that at CompleteCollision.com. CompleteCollision.com is where you're going to find them online. Plank Road in Zachary, Perkins Road in Baton Rouge, just east of Bluebonnet, that's where you're going to find them in real life. 768-9898 is where you're going to find them on the phone if you do get into an accident. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Time for top stories and trending. Let's roll.
Brought to you by Complete Collision Center, with locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com. Want to know absolutely everything that's happened up to now?
Well, that'll be $8. An independent regulatory board has given Entergy the go-ahead to add an additional charge to customers' bills for the next 15 years. The Louisiana Public Service Commission voted 4-1 in favor of the increase, which Entergy says will help it recoup more than $3 billion spent on repairs associated with major storms in recent years. Customers could start seeing the charge, which the company said will run around $8 on their bills as soon as May. East Baton Rouge Parish Metro Council was one vote away from upping the amount of money allocated for the Baton Rouge Police Department's legal fees. 6-6 vote fell largely along party lines. 5 Democrats, 1 Republican voting to grant a request to Chief Murphy Paul to increase the budget for his lawyer's fees by $80,000. 6 Republicans voted no. A deadlock vote means, well, it falls short. The increase would have paid the chief's contracted lawyers for work they've already done, representing him in a series of marathon discipline appeal hearings from last year, whose length and frequency pushed their costs past the budgeted $150,000 by nearly half. At the heart of the dispute over the rising cost lies a battle over discipline and reforms within BRPD. The Advocate's got a lengthy article on this if you wanted to read more about it. It's not clear yet what effect Wednesday's vote will have on the city parish, which still owes Paul's lawyers over $80,000, which means these are bills that have already been incurred. People inside a tailor shop on Perkins Road got a shock Wednesday when a person suffering from a gunshot wound stumbled into the place. Baton Rouge police said a man was shot around a mile away, ended up at the tailor on Perkins Road at the Valley Street corner. The man was likely shot on Bayless Street near Baywell, somehow ended up at the tailor. Wait, that means he had to walk over an overpass. Or catch a ride, or a horse. The man was likely shot on Bayless Street near Baywell and somehow ended up at the tailor, which is across the street from a fire and EMS station. Detectives were working late into Wednesday afternoon, piecing together what happened, the shooting on Bayless, and how the victim ended up at the tailor shop on Perkins. Details about the names and people involved have not been released. The man who was shot was reportedly critically injured. A 66-year-old man told investigators his roommate doused him in rubbing alcohol and tried to light him on fire earlier this month. That's not the punchline. Less than a year after she allegedly sent him to the hospital by doing the exact same thing. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's not funny. East Baton Rouge Sheriff's deputies arrested 36-year-old Christine Guidry Tuesday on a charge of cruelty to the infirmed. When the victim reported the attack in early February, he told deputies that Guidry, his roommate of 2 years, poured alcohol on him and inside his room and then tried to ignite it using a lighter. Guidry's roommate said she did the same thing last July, landing the victim in the hospital for 32 days. The victim did not report that to the police. and it allegedly happened again. I think my internet troubles are going to prevent number one from happening. I can't get to the story. There we go. EMS says one person was injured in a shooting on South Acadian Thruway Wednesday night. The party was transferred to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. There were no more details available about the shooting. Grabbing that from the Advocate. So, looked like you can add one more shooting, though we don't know if it was another homicide yet or not. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending. How about $2 billion as a price tag for a new Mississippi River bridge? The project to construct a new bridge over the Mississippi River is now expected to cost $2 billion. That breaks down like this. The bridge itself, $1.2 billion. The connectors to get to and from the bridge, another $800 million. Latest price tag for the long-awaited project was unveiled as the Department of Transportation presented its latest budget during a Senate Finance Committee hearing. DOTD confirmed Wednesday's $2 billion estimate was in today's dollars if construction began today. Bear in mind, construction is not beginning today. So while we tell you $2 billion here on February 24th, just know it's going to be higher than that. Those are your top stories in trending. Kind of take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about Kirby Smith, the legend of Kirby Smith. It's coming down soon. We're talking. No worries. I nodded.
Dude, I don't know if you meant this or not, like if you timed this on purpose or not, but you were talking about how roommate is each other on fire or whatever. You're like, that's not even the punchline. And it's like, this happened again. Or this happened before last July. Yeah. And the music just like stopped. And then it
Oh, yeah. You gave it weight.
clean.
Yeah.
It gave it so much weight. That's really cool, actually.
Thank you. No, that was serendipitous, to say the least. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna delete this thing along.
Oh, I thought I got all those out of there. Hey, Don. What's happening? Good morning. How are you? Yes. It's all good. Okay. Barbara asked what parades are the best, Baton Rouge or New Orleans? That's not even close, Barbara. That's, yeah. It's the difference between shooting a bullet and throwing it. .718 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So in a couple months, a legend will be torn down. Kirby Smith Hall. Whew. Who does not have just 1,000 hazy memories of their days in Kirby Smith? Joining us now to talk about this, Executive Director of Residential Life over at LSU, Pete Trentacoste. Pete, good morning. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing very well this morning. So, I don't know whether to start by dialing back the clock or moving forward. Let's move forward. Let's start by looking ahead to what's actually going to happen when the building comes down. Will this be open to the public? Will there be services for all of us to pour one out for those legendary days? What's going to happen when we tear down Kirby Smith?
I can't speak to the pouring one out
right.
capacity at this time, but I can say that on Saturday, June 4th, there will be a controlled implosion at Kirby Smith. There's talk right now of having a live stream available for many of our Tigers that maybe can't come back to Baton Rouge in the meantime to see it go down in person. We're certainly going to find a way to make sure that that's available. But yes, there will be some places on campus where folks will be able to get a good glimpse of it. It is so large that there's many places to view it coming down, I would say. But we'll try to identify a few spaces that we can let the public know that, hey, you want to really see a good vantage point, here's where you need to be.
We've seen buildings on campus come down before. Have we seen implosions on campus before?
No, this is the first implosion to my knowledge. It's definitely the first residence hall that's being imploded.
There was an LSU versus Troy joke in there, and I just didn't have it in me to bring it up. So, yeah, we've seen buildings downtown with the implosions and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
What goes into this from LSU's perspective? I mean, how much of this do y'all handle, and how much of this is just leave it up to the people that know what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have hired experts. We're using the whole implosion is being overseen by a Lemoyne Moine company, Light Neighbors Demolition and Controlled Demolition. They're national leaders in large structure controlled demolition. It'll take about 15 minutes to come down. It'll create a dust cloud and some loud noise. It'll necessitate some temporary road and sidewalk closures. But at the end of the day, this is one that there's a lot of planning that's gone into it, and it's been going on for more than a decade, I think. Like, hey, it's coming down, and I think it's funny because I'll go onto the Facebook post where we have releases, and people are like, I'll believe it when I see it. And most of my quotes have been like, it's coming down in June. Like, I arrived here in March, and since I've arrived, it's been something that I have focused on because while there are some really fond memories of Kirby Smith, there's more on the other side that say it is time and it's outlived its useful life, and it's time for it to be permanently retired.
What goes into that decision to determine that it has outlived its useful life, aside from the fact that it looks like the building from good times, and even that reference is dated?
Yeah, that's true. I get that reference, but I know some of your listeners may not. I think that, the first thing we do is we look at what's the cost of renovations to get it up to current standards of what our students would want today. And when you do that analysis, it doesn't calculate on a 30-year cycle of what we normally would pay back the cost of doing that renovation. So then it leads you to, okay, well, it looks like new construction is where we need to be. And with Camellia and Azalea having come up this last year, that's part of the replacement plan is that, they brought on over 800 beds. Kirby Smith in the last decade has really been using about 500 to 600 beds. At its heyday, it actually housed as many as 700 students. But, it's had many different uses over the years, which is kind of, and it actually was retired by the department. Again, I started this last March at LSU, but my predecessors, I found an article out there that in 2008, the department said, we're no longer using it as a residence hall, we're done, and it became used as a something for health sciences. And then we took it back around 10 or 11 and started using it again.
How many students? You said at its peak around 700 per semester?
Yeah.
How many students? Is there an estimation of how many just over the years, over its lifespan, how many students live there?
Yeah, we think about a little more over 20,000, I think, have been there since it's been open in 1967.
It's amazing. I mean, that is just so. Yeah, spring of '96 for me, by the way, and learned very quickly it was time to move into an apartment.
Well, we've changed the way we operate today, and I think that I've worked at several campuses, and Kirby Smith's story isn't unlike many. That the idea back in the '60s was build them high and build them big.
Yes,
and that was the approach because there was money available at the time. There were a lot of GIs that were coming on the campuses, and it was really like, how can we get as many students crammed in one spot as possible? And today's construction is really more in the 300 to 400 range is like the ideal size for a residence hall.
So what goes up in its place?
Actually nothing. This is an unusual event for a campus of our size, but the current master plan calls for it to be a green space. And so with that, nothing really, crazy structure-wise. It's going to be some sidewalks, some grass, some benches, a place for folks to maybe throw a Frisbee. Really kind of opening up that area, which is pretty tight right now in terms of like what's around it. And I think that it'll be well received by the campus and community.
We're talking with Pete Trentacoste. He's the executive director of residential life over at LSU about the coming implosion of Kirby Smith Hall. Now, aside from being a residential hall, you had mentioned handing it off to another department for a little bit, but it has had other uses throughout its history as well. How else has Kirby Smith served us?
It's fascinating because of our proximity to the Capitol. It's actually served as transition headquarters for two Louisiana governors, Bobby Jindal in 2007 and the current governor, John Bell Edwards. So that I've been doing this now over 20 years, and I've worked for 5 other campuses. I have never been on a campus where a residence hall of the size and stature of Kirby has been used in that same way. So it's very unique.
Yeah, absolutely is. So, since in your time in the Post, what kind of stories have you heard? Because Kirby Smith is legendary.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here for its heyday. I came in last year, and we had very minimal. I mean, we were at 60% occupancy. It was really an overflow building. So certainly students were there, but it wasn't really the normal, amount of students. The craziest one I think I saw, and again, there's many more that, but for radio purposes, the one that I just went through some of the stories, the one that kind of grabbed me is like, oh gosh, what a horrible intro to campus. A parent had written that they were taking their student to move on to the 11th floor, and somebody prior had written the letters HE in front of the 11th floor. So when they got onto the floor, it was like they were arriving to hell.
I actually remember that. I didn't do it. I remember seeing that. That is
quite creative, actually.
Yes, very much so. So Kirby Smith Hall, named after Edmund Kirby Smith. No shot that his name is going to move on to something else. I wouldn't imagine re-upping a Confederate war name.
Yeah, that's generally not in the current plans for most campuses at this point. I think that, there's certainly been controversy about the name that was asked of me last year, and the fact that we had active plans to move forward with it being demolished, I think, kind of makes that point not as, I don't think it'll be transferred. I think your question is, you're spot on.
Got just a couple minutes left with Pete Trentacoste from LSU's Residential Life. When it comes to where students reside these days, are the on-campus dorms still where it's at? I mean, or is it more of a on-campus apartment type situation? I mean, the dorm room is not what the dorm room used to be.
No, it's not. And at the end of the day, one of the interesting things about LSU in the last 10 years has been really successful, and one of the reasons I came to work here was the campus has been really active. It's kind of the worst kept secret. We need to put it out more. That 75% of our facilities now are new or renovated. That's really exciting, particularly for a flagship of our stature to have that amount of. So when I talk to parents and students, they say, "What's the thing we need to know?" I'm like, ask our competitors if they have anything close to that. There's been over $500 million in investment in the last 20 years into the residence hall system. None of that money is from the state or anything else. That's all just generated off of student fee money and bonded out that then we pledge the future money that we're bringing for rent to cover. And so I think it's a really exciting time. We actually, at this time, are already on a wait list for our apartments for next year. So our apartments are very popular. That's a non-required place to live. Our first-year buildings, we have a first-year residency requirement. But a number of students live on campus, including my daughter. I live close enough that she doesn't need to commute, but certainly I believe in the experience we're providing. And so I will be a paying customer this upcoming fall as she moves in, and I'm excited to have her on campus.
Very cool stuff. So is green space the near future or the long-term master plan for the area?
No, it'll be short-term. It'll take the better part of the summer to haul out the debris. It's a 15-minute process to bring the debris down, but a couple month-long process to actually appropriately get that debris from the site. And so once the debris has been cleared, then at that point they'll be looking to, as quickly as possible, bring it to some kind of green space. So I would say in the fall at some point, it will be. I'm guessing it'll be roped off for a while as the grass takes hold, and we don't want people kind of trouncing across it. But I would think some part of the fall we will have it back available for folks to use.
Speaking of the fall and available for use, this sounds like it's going to shape up to be a hot tailgating spot. Will that be in the works?
That's a great question. I as a relative newcomer, I'm not familiar with all the spaces that are allowed and aren't allowed, so I can't speak to that. But, even when it's not a tailgate spot, as a place that's popular, I think it'll absolutely be a popular spot.
He is Pete Trentacoste, head of Residential Life, executive director of Residential Life over at LSU. As more information comes out about where folks can go to gather, we're going to hit you back up again because it is like you said, more than 20,000 students over the course of its lifetime, myself included. I'll be bringing the fam out for sure.
Right.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for the time this morning.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
You do the same. Closing of a chapter. And dare I say it, a long overdue closing of a chapter. Got a couple folks sounding off on YouTube with their edited stories, to say the least. So yeah, the elevators. Oh my word! He mentioned that the HE written in front of the number 11. That was a real thing. I lived on 14, so we passed that up. You could go in the elevator, stainless steel, and be like, never. You would smell bleach and feel disgusting at the same time. Those two things were not mutually exclusive. We'll chat on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, grab it, because when we hit the news break here at the bottom of the hour, we will talk about Kirby Smith a little bit. We do need to catch CBS News here at the bottom of the hour. Then we'll get our own local news, traffic, and weather. Our Crimestoppers segment is coming next. CBS is going to have the latest on Russia and Ukraine for sure, and I don't yet have confirmation about we're hoping to connect with a CBS reporter for the bottom of next hour to talk about the latest. We've been pretty dialed in on it, but hopefully we'll get some more for you. Oh, there it is. Hopefully we'll get some more for you as the morning wears on. But CBS will have the latest for you right here. Also, like I said, Marissa Nuzzo's forecast is going to be included in this bottom of the hour news break, which a lot of folks looking ahead to Mardi Gras already, right? What's Mardi Gras Day going to look like? What's the weekend leading up to it? What's Spanish Town Parade going to look like? That's all coming your way in short order. So let's take this quick break. When we come back, Crimestoppers time. Let's talk with Tanja Miles. Let's talk about the opioid epidemic and how there's a new program out there now that can affect change, very serious change, but there is a little bit of pushback on it, to say the least. How effective can it be, and really, is there a stone that should be left unturned in this battle? We're talking with Tanja Miles as part of our Crimestoppers segment next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. All right, let me get on YouTube here. Boo-doo-boo-boo-doo-boo. I don't think we're going to get him, Benny. Damn it. I already got 2 interviews this week with them, and I feel like that was more than Baton Rouge has normally gotten, so... All right, let's see what's what. Here we go. Shawna Banks for district issue under disagreement with Mike Hefner. Not this morning, I can't. That's coming up tomorrow. Advocate says the LSU baseball team is road weary. It's their first road game. I mean, Ruston's a long drive. Making economic impact more difficult to affect Mardi Gras isn't a vacuum. There are other things like business travel. Yes, that's correct. That's all plays into it. Passed out in the elevator, and my friends left me to ride until I woke up. Ugh. Oh, he stayed Broussard. Broussard was the shiz, man. Kirby residents were jealous of Broussard residents. Huh? Broussard was the originally an athletic dorm until they couldn't have athletic dorms.
Yeah.
My buddy, who was the smallest guy I knew, like maybe 5'4". He wasn't the smallest guy. I've known small people, but he was tiny. He got Shaq's room.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, when I lived in Broussard, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, it was a place that was for either, I think, computer science and people that were undeclared, trying to find what they want to do for a major. It had like facilities to, like, I don't know, help you figure out what you could be doing for a career.
Broussard still had, it was like they had to start letting non-scholarship people in when I was there. So I had like 3 or 4 friends. Got lucky enough to get in there. Had some great stories come out of Broussard as well.
Me too. None that I'll ever talk about, but, you know.
Oh.
I'm not. It's not happening.
Yeah, there's a couple stories. I can't tell just because of the verbiage, and there's no way to edit it.
Yeah.
Words that would get you canceled. What was the date again? June 4th was the date.
I heard him say June 4th. I immediately stopped what I was doing and put it in my calendar. Because I live very close.
Yeah.
So I could just open my door and watch.
Well, I'll be bringing the family down there for sure.
Fair enough.
Who gets to watch a building implode? Like, that's a big day.
The only other time I can recall this happening, or like a building imploding that has some sort of connection to me, was when they broke down the old Cowboys Stadium in DFW. I remember watching that on TV.
Come on in, yeah.
Recorded it on DVR. Love it.
Morning, sir. Morning. You good? Brian, good morning.
You good?
How are you? I'm good. I'm good. Brian, this is Tonnage Miles.
Hello.
Brian, how
There's no way we haven't met, right?
We've met.
Okay,
Yes, we have.
I thought so. So apparently it's going to be the must-do event of the summer. The implosion of Kirby Smith Hall. June 4th.
wow. Mark your calendars.
Are you over there or here?
No.
Right.
You right here. You good.
Right here.
See, did you make the presser last Thursday?
No.
So, so just to recap, Ms. Tanja is a wonderful lady.
Knew that.
So, the overdoses, people came together. When Ms. Tanja, and I'll let her tell you, is partnering with Crimestoppers as far as donations, as far as money, to help curb these overdoses.
Okay.
What was that?
Where was the test? All right. There's supposed to be a test. Oh, I bet they didn't record it. Not us. Not us. Okay.
One of those days, huh?
Produced LSU basketball last night.
How's your girl? They finished your season?
3 more regular season games.
Okay.
And then they've got the SEC tournament and then the NCAA tournament. They're going to make it. They're not going to go anywhere in it, but they're going to make it. That's brutal. Okay.
You never know.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. This person training their dog in the background of the news shot. Oh, they took it away.
Take it away.
Teaching their dog to sit. That's good.
This is Crimestoppers on Talk 107.3 FM. I think I'll go catch me a pig. Where every week we take a closer look at fighting crime, stopping crime, and crime prevention. As always, if you have information that you think will help solve a crime, call 344-STOP.
All it takes is a phone and an open mind. No one will know.
My eyes open now. It's Crimestoppers on Talk 107.3 FM.
Yes, it is time for Crime Stoppers. Yes, it is time to welcome in Tanja Miles. Tanja, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm well.
Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this because I think this has the potential to be a game changer. So, reading the story from WBRZ, as Baton Rouge continues to see a record number of overdose deaths across our community, there's a unique plan that will be announced targeting the dealers selling the poison on the streets. That plan was announced last Thursday. Tell us all about it.
So, yeah, we're super excited to do this initiative. We're sick and tired of burying our loved ones and our friends. I've been in recovery for about 38 years, so I know how addiction affects a person and a family. And so I've been doing this work for a long time. And over the years, this is the worst I've ever seen it, particularly when it comes to so many people dying due to overdose. And so last year we did some stuff different that we thought was effective, but we wanted to do something else because the numbers are increasing. And so we noticed that fentanyl is taking our family members out. they're, people are getting high not to die, and we'll deal with even why people getting high. But the fact that there are known drug dealers who are selling this poison, this trash to people, and people are dropping like flies, and you know it, you need to be held accountable. So what we're saying is that we're sick and tired of doing it. And look, most of us in recovery, we know who the drug dealers are, because particularly it's that community, we know it. But we need to start being accountable, turning people in who are selling this poison. People are dying. They need to be held accountable, because we're sick and tired of it. And so we came up with this initiative, one called Save Many Lives.
What is the initiative? What are the nuts and bolts of it, and how do people get
The nuts
involved?
and bolts is to be active and proactive and to save a life. Make a call. Call Crimestoppers. We thought it would be great to partner with Crimestoppers, because they've already been doing work like this in the community and doing it well. And so why not now have a person? It's like back in the day when they had Turn In a Pusher, but we're taking it up to a whole nother level. Call the number, turn that person in. If that person is arrested, then that would lead to a reward, and it will lead to getting someone off the street who's clearly selling poison to people that's killing our brothers and our sisters and our moms and dads and our friends, and we've had enough.
So I like the potential of it for sure, but what is the impetus? What is the reason for calling in the first? Think about it through through the eyes of the person who would be calling. Like, they would be rolling over on their source for the drug that they seek. How do you get them to take that first step?
Well, first of all, like I said, most people are getting high not to die. So when they're buying drugs from, dope boys or people that they think are, taking care of them, which there's no honor code in that, they don't know what they're getting. They don't know if it's being laced. And so they're buying a product that they think is supposed to be helping them, but now it's killing them. And so it's particularly, you might be fine and it might not affect you. But you also heard that day that 4 other people died, and you know the source that it's coming from. And that person is still selling. That person needs to be held accountable, because you're not selling nothing to help anybody. It's killing people. And it's not like we're asking you to snitch, but we're asking you to save another life, because if they did it once, they'll do it again, and more people will die.
The program will provide a monetary reward for this, obviously, and it's being funneled through Crimestoppers as well. What's that partnership been like, or what got that partnership established?
Well, what got it established is that we wanted to do something different. Look, last year when people were calling my husband and I asking us to help bury their loved ones, and we would ask them, what is it that you need besides prayer and us to come and do the service? And they're like, well, we're having a hard time burying them. So we found ourselves giving money to help bury them, because it's a business of burial. And then this year we're like, we want to do something different. Let's do something to prevent, those deaths. And we came up with, taking the money and just donate to Crimestoppers. Then we started talking to people in the recovery community. Then we started talking to people who lost loved ones to overdose. And then just people like, look, I want to help. I think this is great. I called Crimestoppers and some other people to make sure I was doing my due diligence, and they thought it was a great idea. And before you know it, what became a thought and idea actually happened. And last week we were able to present Crimestoppers with their first check. And we've gotten some people who have committed to sustain this fund to keep it going, because they want to save lives. So we're just grateful and thankful for Crimestoppers and all the people who partnered with us to do this.
What kind of dollars are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, right now I know the first day we rolled it out, we did $1,500 of our own money, and then it was a match within a matter of 20 minutes, another $1,500. And so now, we've been talking to some of the foundations that people are connected with, or people who've just been calling saying, what do I do? We're like, no, don't send the money to us. Send it to Crimestoppers. When you do a check, or however you do it, just say, overdose prevention fund, and it'll be specifically for that. And so it's our goal to, put as much money as we can in that fund, because again, we want to sustain it. This is just not a one-time deal. We want to continue to do this thing. So we're glad we have a sustainability plan that that's going to work.
The war on opioids, which we've been losing badly.
Sure.
It's two-sided. It's supply and demand.
That's right.
From the demand side, we've had District Attorney Hiller Moore in talking about the When You're Ready program.
That's the program that we started. Yep.
This would be the next step, because while the When You're Ready program could hopefully affect demand, this would affect supply as well.
Yes, sir. So when I started the When You're Ready program, because again, being a peer support specialist, that's what I do. I use my lived experience and I counsel people with addiction. My husband and I, we had the first licensed faith-based mental health, addiction program in the state of Louisiana called Set Free Indeed. It's called Woodlake. We sold it in 2010. And so I've been doing this work for a long, long time. And so one of the things when we came up when you're ready, because we know that people have to be ready. Look, it didn't take me 5, 6 times. It took me 10 times. My parents will probably tell you it took 20 before I made that choice to change my life and to, because it's personal responsibility too. We can have all the programs in the world, but it has to be personal responsibility. Been that, done that. Is it easy? No, it was hard, but it was worth it. And so what we did, we were like, look, we want to get people information. We vetted those organizations. We wanted the organizations that people could get in real quick. And so we did this card because law enforcement say when we come in contact with someone, we want to be able to give them something. We made this card that people can put on their person. And when we're going around to those hot spots, when we're going in the areas we know people are using or having challenges, we give them that card and we tell them, when you're ready, call this number. Now, we go a step further than that and say, look, if you're ready, when you secure a bed, if you don't have a ride, then we came up with the Ride or Die program. And that's where we'll pick that person up, Uber them to that treatment center so they can get the help that they need. So you're right, supply and demand, personal responsibility, and then asking the community that if you want to do something, I know you're tired of seeing people, hearing about the numbers. If you want to do something, make that donation to Crimestoppers. I mean, $5, $10, $50, it'll make a difference.
Absolutely. Tanja Miles is our guest. We're talking about the new program to hopefully get a few opioid dealers off the streets, and not just treatment for those that need it, but get some dealers off the streets as well. And this, to me, this has a bigger overriding potential impact in that we have seen a record number of opioid deaths on top of the previous year's record number of opioid deaths, but we also saw a record number of homicides as well. And Chief Murphy Paul, sitting in that chair where you're at right now, has said the overwhelming number of homicides are drug-related.
That's right.
So we're not just talking about reducing the number of opioid deaths. We're talking about reducing the number of homicides that would have stemmed from a drug deal to begin with.
Yes, it all goes hand in hand. And so but we have to, I'm a military girl. I was in the military for 9 years. So, it has to come from, sometime a 3 or 4 prong approach when we're trying to, actually make a dent in this. And look, going back to the drug deals, as I was thinking about this, I thought about, I don't watch movies like this because I interface with too many people that have this lifestyle, but, Breaking Bad and the Training Days and the Scarface, and I can go on and on about glorifying drug dealers. And look, well, he has cancer and he's doing it for a living. Well, most people can say that. That's great. So here's the deal. If you don't want this lifestyle anymore, we went a little further than that. We know people who have been some of the biggest drug dealers in our state, but who are now turning their life around. They're married, went back to school, got this great business, and they're paying people, to work in their companies for good money. So, or we're thinking, talking with, Head and Inquest, who, are good people who don't mind. Their organization is great, and they do second chances. And so if you can pass a drug test and you can work, then you can make a better life. So even if you're in that lifestyle and you want to get out, we can help you with that. So we have this 3-pronged approach, like you said: supply, demand. The drug dealer, you got to go. If you knowingly, pausing people, but if you want a lifestyle change, then we got you with that. So we've just tried to come every angle that we can. And again, like I said, we're asking the community just to help us and, support the Crimestoppers as we continue to try to save lives.
I want to revisit a question from a little bit earlier within this conversation, and that is, if you are the drug user who's got their dealer and has had no problem, then you're going to be hard-pressed to be convinced that there is a problem. If you're the drug user who has gotten the poison, who's gotten the fentanyl, which I don't even call fentanyl a drug anymore, it's just poison if it's not prescribed within a hospital, you're already dead. So how do you cross that bridge to convince the person who seems like they feel like they've got it under control? The first step to changing a problem is admitting there's a problem.
Sure.
How do you convince them that there is a problem?
Well, you convince them by being a problem. That's why we shared our lived experience of how jacked up and messed up we was, and how we were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And now, we decided to, make our life better and share that information in order to encourage that person to do that. But look, again, a person's trying to get high, not to die. And so when you know that your drug dealer is selling you something that they said, oh, I'm selling you can trust me. But no, but bodies are dropping, and you can't trust anybody right now, because who are they getting that stuff from?
Right.
I know a lot of people are talking about getting fentanyl, strips to test it and stuff like that. I get that. But when it's all said and done, it's not like I'm trying to snitch on a person. First of all, what you're doing is illegal.
Right.
Second, anything that's going to help me get off the drugs, and if you are part of that, then guess what? You got to go. Because look, most people who are addicts, we're human. And we want to see, we want to grow old too, And so when you give people this poison, you reduce their risk of them one day making a decision that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And at the end of the day, it's a matter of help going where help is needed and punishment going where punishment's needed, and
Right.
not muddying those waters.
Right, because this is a war on addiction, not on drugs. We're saying, people use for different reasons. Look, I talk to people from the curbside to the country club every day. Life hurts, and people use for different reasons. There's a lot of trauma. People are setting it off, if you will, because people are antsy and they're making bad decisions and they're taking people's lives. But what we're saying is there's help. There's hope. There's organizations like Crimestoppers. That's one way. But look, here in East Baton Rouge Parish, we have a lot of good programs. But we just want people to take a little bit more responsibility and get the help that they need so they don't become a statistics and end up dead. Because it could be you. It's like playing Russian roulette. You don't know what you're getting. Ain't nobody safe.
Exactly. She is Tanja Miles. I love the idea. It's about a week in the running already, so we'll have to get updates regularly on this one because it does have a ton of potential. Thank you so much for hopping on board today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we will wait to see what kind of response they get. I mean, this is going to be one of those ones that it might start with a slow build, but once it gets a little bit of traction, then who knows where it can go from there. And if you take down the right dealer, you could take out a huge chunk of what's going on in Baton Rouge. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back from that break, we got the Outside In. After the Outside In, of course, we have CBS News. But that break's coming up first. We will check our traffic. We'll come back. We'll hit the Outside In. Our headlines from outside of East Baton Rouge Parish are coming your way next. Right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk.
Outstanding, Tommy. Thank you.
Great job.
Yeah,
thank you
so much.
Yeah, I love the potential of this. We're still on YouTube, by the way. I love the potential of this thing.
Yeah.
Because gut reaction when I saw it was like, oh, we're going to pay people for that. But no, when you talk about, you're not just turning yourself in, you're turning in a dealer.
Right.
Like, that's a game changer.
Right, exactly.
And you don't know if what you bought this Tuesday is the same as what you're going to buy next Tuesday.
Right.
And with the problems we have with, this not to go all global with it, but what's coming over the border is just
it's crazy.
Deadly.
Yeah.
It's deadly. And
yeah.
So.
Well, we already got, I think I don't know if I told you this, we already got a call from GMA, and they're shopping it, and they're like, we want to do the story, but right now everything is about Russia. So stay on standby.
Yeah.
So again, it's our goal that it takes out, in other places as well. And that's why we came from a three-pronged approach. We're about to do like a big billboard, media launch in a couple of weeks. And so, we're serious about that. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks.
I have a smaller radio show, but I don't have it fixed up like this through Cumulus. So.
Over there on the other side of downtown.
Yeah. So, I do the public affairs show, for Max, the other 4 stations. I forgot. Yeah.
Well, you're going to be on this week's public affairs show for our station, too.
Okay.
I repurpose a lot of this show back on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, your voice is famous. I mean, I don't say this a lot, but it's like if you were in the store and you had on a hat and a mask.
Yes.
I could.
You could detect that voice.
Hey, I'm like,
I know,
incognito.
Yeah, not getting away with much. Anytime, Tanja. Thank you, Tanja.
It's that time of year again for Louisiana strawberries. Our Louisiana strawberries are the freshest and sweetest, and they provide a delicious, healthy choice that is fat, sodium, and cholesterol free. So pick up your strawberries today and make sure you pick Louisiana.
Nyquilus, what's happening, man? He says that's all Hollywood trash. The ingenuity it takes to make, distribute, and sell drugs outside of the law proves they could be successful. They chose that life. 100%. 100%. And it takes very, very little to choose to collect $1,000 in order to get them off the street. All right.
GatorWorks believes that your website should be the perfect full-time salesperson, one that always looks sharp, never says the wrong thing, and is always available. If your website is getting more leads for your business, what is it doing? Visit our salesperson at GatorWorks.net.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from
Oh, Baton Rouge Mattress rolls back on next week. Boom. Coming up in this day in history, one of the most anticlimactic wins in sports ever. Well, I'm sure it's on your list. Talk 107.3 FM and Citizens Bank and Trust wants to help make 2022 as easy on you as possible by covering your car payments for an entire year, or got some other great prizes like 6 months of free car washes from Benny's Car Wash. Just visit talk1073.com, click on our free car payments for your sweepstakes, and you are registered, or you can register from there. Free car payments for a year, presented by Talk 107.3 FM and Citizens Bank and Trust. Citizens Bank and Trust sponsors the poll question on our sister station, 104.5. We got to get a Kirby Smith poll question in. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put it on my Twitter. I got to get the right wording. We'll do it during the top of the hour break. And if given the opportunity to relive your college experience, would you choose Kirby Smith again? The answer is an undoubted yes for me. There's no way I give up any of those memories, even the ones I don't really remember. Here's a good one.
Let's hear it.
The beds used to have storage underneath them, and they would have fire drills regularly. And my roommate and I figured out that if we just made a bed in the storage that was underneath the bed, you didn't have to leave for the fire drill. You just roll out of bed and get in the storage area underneath and just go back to sleep.
Wait, so you made like a bunk bed?
Basically, yeah. Although after a minute or so, we realized it's kind of like a coffin.
Yeah, that probably wasn't very.
No, it was
cold.
very ill-conceived.
Yeah,
but out at Murphy's the night before, so bees what it bees. CBS News coming up in about 3 minutes from right now. We've got to step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. It's time for us to check in on the outside in. Roar! Oh. Sorry for the burst of laughter in there. Nyquilus Dilwad on YouTube says those elevators were disgusting. Hashtag understatement right there. By the way, sound off on our YouTube chat. It's Mornings with Brian Haldane, and go ahead and subscribe while you're there. Starting off at St. Landry Parish, where the vice president will be visiting tomorrow. Nothing else on the vice president's plate, right? White House has confirmed U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo will be in Sunset, Louisiana, this Friday, February 25th, to highlight investments in affordable, accessible, high-speed internet in rural communities, and Sunset is a rural community. Next stop, Ascension Parish. Want to buy a cop car? The Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office vehicle auction started yesterday at www.jjkane.com. It's going to continue through March 1st. The Donaldsonville chief, the website, not the actual chief of police, noted that an Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office spokesperson said the online public auction includes some of the department's fleet vehicles, several motorcycles, and other vehicles as well. I mean, if the used car lots are empty, just get yourself a cop car. Go full Blues Brothers on it. Over to Iberville Parish, where Sheriff Brett Stassi wants to get ahead of the potential problems before this weekend's Mardi Gras parades. Threats of violence have been implied on social media posts in the past week, which prompted the sheriff's office to be even more diligent over the course of the upcoming celebrations. Extra deputies will be on patrol for the crew of Randall, crew of Comago, and other Fat Tuesday parades. Stassi says he needs public cooperation here as well. We're going to close out in Tangipahoa Parish with a story of a reunion. After a months-long search in Tangipahoa Parish, a pig was returned to its rightful owner. I'm not even going to elaborate. Here comes CBS News.
Protect your retirement. Visit safemoneyplan.net. It's 8 o'clock.
I'm bidding on the SWAT tank thingy. I mean, would the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office sell something that cherry? I mean, you don't let that thing go, right? Does Ascension have one? So in my mind, I'm visualizing the old school. Remember the movie Dragnet, not the TV show, with Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd? That's what's rattling around in my head. All right. No. Lizzo speaks her truth. Coming up on Good Morning America. That is an appropriate way to address the president. Yes. Nope. You get that video I sent you? Okay. So it's 3 longer chunks. I just want the first one. Yeah, but all I want is the first minute and a half. Yeah, it's one video. You'll see it once we get into it. You'll want to cue it up past the writing at the beginning to where they go to Lambert Boissier. I know you don't know who he is. Lambert Boissier is the first person you're going to see on there. But he's going to talk about the impacts of the war on our local economy. Energy economy, to be specific. No. There's at least 3 chunks within the same video where it's a minute-long soundbite and then a cut to a different minute-long soundbite and then a cut. So there are 2 Lambert Boissier cuts. We'll work it out during news at the bottom of the hour, but I also want Foster Campbell talking about the energy stuff. We'll deal with it. Don't worry about it. Yes. Yeah, we got plenty of time there.
Because I already remember what we talked about yesterday with that interview, I kind of already go post.
Oh, good. How old is she? Really? Wow, she's 57. I'm tired.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Some dense fog may be forming over bridges and near bodies of water again this morning, and
Yep.
temperatures are vastly different depending on your location.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it here.
Coast to the coast waking up near 70 degrees, while northern areas are in the 50s. Cold front is sitting just north
Yep.
of Baton Rouge Parish, and difference of 50 to 20 degrees as we head into the afternoon.
Son of a
Baton Rouge
biscuit.
area
Okay.
low 80s with some spotty showers. Northern locations will barely scratch 70 degrees today. Tonight, the front will work its way all the way to the south. Everyone will wake up with temperatures much cooler tomorrow morning. Friday will start off with a few spotty showers and temperatures near 50 degrees.
806 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. And thanks again to Tonnage Miles for stopping on board or hopping on board for Crimestoppers. It's going to be an intriguing program as it moves forward because we continue to lose in the opioid battle, in the crisis that is the opioid epidemic. And I'm hard-pressed to turn down any idea. I mean, if they're getting after it with something new, it's not going to cost us as taxpayers any money for sure. But even if it did, like, this is one where it's a battle of supply and demand, and we're losing on both fronts. So how can you gain any kind of traction at all on either front? Well, this is addressing demand with the potential or probability of addressing supply on the back end. Good stuff. It's available on demand at talk1073.com, or it will be after the show is over with, if you wanted to go check it out. Coming up this hour in our next segment, got the chance to catch up with DJ Jazzy Jeff after the show yesterday. Yes, that DJ Jazzy Jeff from I'm the Rapper, He's the DJ, home base, as of DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So they've rebooted Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and now it's just called Bel-Air. And it's a grittier version, a much more real and raw version. And it dives into the story behind the story, basically. The beginning of the show, or the first couple episodes of the show, are basically Will when he's still in West Philadelphia. Got into some trouble outside the school? Yeah, that. No, wait. Couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. That's what it was. See? Shooting some b-ball outside the school. Anyway, I got the chance to catch up with Jazzy Jeff yesterday. We're going to play that back for you on our next segment. Also coming up this hour, I'm still waiting on word from CBS News. We're trying to get confirmation on a reporter who's in Russia. Because while we do focus on our local topics here, when World War III starts, you like to check in. That's why I really appreciate our affiliation with CBS News, is that top and bottom of every hour, you're going to get the latest. Military actions started yesterday. Well, I guess technically today because Russia's that far ahead, right? I guess technically it was today. For us, it was last night, though. That's all coming up later on this hour. If we don't have the CBS reporter, the Public Service Commission met yesterday, and we have some video for you, if you're watching us on YouTube, video for you of how that war can affect us locally. Lambert Boissier from the Public Service Commission. We've got some video from him that we'll break down a little bit later on. I'm going to get you to this day in history in just a minute, but first, got to ask you about your lunch plans. every single day. Every single day, I get the opportunity to tell you about the goodness, no greatness that is the burger over at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Whether you're talking about a classic double cheeseburger, an MCD, Mooyah Classic Double, or I'm a Double Diablo guy. There's something very appealing to me about the Cholula sauce and the pepper jack cheese and the jalapenos. It's like it's daring me to eat it, saying, can you handle this level of spice? Yes, I can. But that might not be your bag. You might like something as simple as the A Wonderful. You might like the best queso scenario, or, and I highly recommend doing this as well, building your own. Yeah, just go over there, build your own. You make your own burger. You're going to get fresh cut ingredients. You're going to get freshly baked buns. You're going to get certified Angus beef, and you're going to get the best service around at either location. Segan, just north of Industrialplex, or Blue Bonnet at Highland for Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. All right, it's time for us to roll back the clock. It is time for This Day in History.
Yes, it is time for This Day in History. We're kicking things off in 1857.
Woo!
LA Vineyard Society is organized.
The LA Vineyard Society?
I don't know, just vineyard. Just got me interested.
Yeah,
Love
well,
me some wine.
so LA, though, like, I associate vineyards with Northern California.
Yeah.
LA would be SoCal.
Yeah.
SoCal, what is up?
Maybe it panned out. Who knows?
Could be.
People probably know. 1868, the first U.S. parade with floats.
Yeah.
Should I leave out the detail there?
No, you can go into it because this is the serious point of contention. What's recorded in history versus what is actual history are two different things here. So feel free to talk about moon pies and Mobile. I don't think they had moon pies in the first one.
So yes, they had their first U.S. parade with floats. That was Mardi Gras in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
Ew.
No, see, the thing is, it's not. It wasn't the first Mardi Gras, though. The first Mardi Gras was a good 30 years before that in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. 1923, mass arrests in the U.S. for the mafia.
1923?
Yeah. I don't know which mafia, but there were a lot of arrests made on this day.
All right.
1 year later, 1924, Mahatma Gandhi was released from jail. 1965. What?
Sorry, not laughing at Mahatma Gandhi. So Rocco's going to be on with us tomorrow, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, he lived in power. We were talking about Kirby Smith.
Ah.
Yeah. Rocco has a description for Kirby Smith that we're going to have to share on YouTube only. And he's not wrong.
I can only imagine what he has to say. But in 1965, the Beatles began filming Help in the Bahamas. In 1987, LA Lakers center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar scores his 36,000th NBA point.
Skipped right past 1980, didn't you?
And a 97-93 win over the Suns in
Yeah,
Phoenix.
it's fine.
What? Just tell me.
This day in 1980, in what was the most anticlimactic win in sports, U.S. ice hockey team clinches the gold medal with a 4-2 win over Finland at the Lake Placid Winter Olympics. This was also the day the Winter Olympics closed in Lake Placid.
4-2. Why is it anticlimactic?
Because it followed the Miracle on Ice. The big game was the semifinal, not the final.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cared anymore.
That's fair. Once they won, once they beat Russia, it's like, okay, well, we're winning the gold.
Right. It was like the NOLA no call. Remember the NOLA no call? Oh, God, it still hurts.
Why would you do that?
No, because the Super Bowl didn't matter because the team who was going to win the Super Bowl wasn't even in it. Yeah, I realize I just called the Saints Russia in this analogy, but it doesn't matter.
Moving swiftly along, 1989, 150-million-year-old fossil egg found in Utah with a fossilized dinosaur embryo.
You think Finland is still celebrating that silver?
Probably
That's
not.
a big day for Finland.
Probably not.
No?
I think they're high and chilling.
All right.
Anyway, the oldest dinosaur egg was yet found in the northern hemisphere, 1989.
Nobody's looking up Al Michaels' call of that game, right?
No.
I mean, after Do You Believe in Miracles, he's like, pulling in people from the hallways like you do the call. I'm spent.
Just get an intern on it.
I've had my one moment in time.
There you go. Same day, same year, 1989, stalker Margaret Ray found in David Letterman's home, claims to be his wife.
Who stalks David Letterman?
Margaret Ray, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just as surprised as you when I read that.
I mean, of all the celebrities that could have a stalker,
Hey, maybe he was big in the late 80s. I don't know.
he was big in the
I
late
know,
80s.
I'm just playing. And finally, in 2020,
Ryan Reynolds. You stalk Ryan Reynolds
Why him specifically? I mean, I know he's awesome, but
because he's awesome.
yeah, I guess that's fair.
And I mean, he's Ryan Reynolds. He's funny. He's gorgeous. He's a great actor.
Yeah,
I said he's gorgeous. I don't care. I'm secure enough to say that.
Come on, you get to say that. Appreciate beauty where you see it.
David
Finally-
Letterman, not so much.
Come on.
Even in 89.
Come on now. Well, finally, this one's a serious one. In 2020, memorial service for NBA star Kobe Bryant was held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's all the events. Let's get to the birthdays. I only had 3 to talk about. First up, we have Steve Jobs. He was born on this day in 1955. Oh, God. What?
The email service that I get, one of the email services that I get,
Did they not have Steve
they
Jobs?
give me 3 celebrities a day.
Okay.
And Steve Jobs was not one of them.
He was the first person that was on that.
As he should be. He's Steve flippin' Jobs, for crying out loud.
What the heck? That's weird. Anyway, Floyd Mayweather turns 45.
He made my list.
And Daniel Kaluuya, he turns 33. You know him as the lead actor in Get Out, and he was a supporting actor in Black Panther.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you
Well,
definitely.
Get
seen
Out
him
was
before.
creepy, wasn't it?
I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I know
Bradley
I need
Whitford's
to.
good.
I heard it's really good.
Yeah.
That's all the birthdays I have. You got
Oh,
any
there's
for me?
plenty of them. So the 3 that were in the email that I got, Floyd Mayweather, Kristen Davis is 57 years old, and Billy Zane is 56. How does Billy Zane top Steve Jobs? How does Sex and the City's Kristen Davis top Steve Jobs? Like, no offense to either one of Floyd Mayweather, I get you'd be in that top 3.
Yeah, 100%.
But the other 2, what are we even doing here?
You tell me, man. You got any other for me, or?
Former Saints linebacker Greg Westbrooks was born on this day in 1953. Former Saints safety Don Schwartz, this day in 1956. I don't know either of those 2 guys. I just saw Saints, so I figured if I didn't mention them, Condon would come down the hall and pummel me.
Just screaming.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't mention Saints!
back in my day. Anyway.
1956, Eddie Murray, former Baltimore Orioles first baseman, Hall of Famer, Eddie
Heard
Murray.
That name.
Yeah.
If that says anything.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to all those mentioned. I had no deaths to report. Holidays. It's kind of a food-based one. National Chili Day.
Aren't they all, though?
Yes, but this one's
Like,
exclusively
they're
food.
primarily food-based day.
Yes. We've had plenty of ice cream, plenty of coffee, plenty of, what is it, pizza days.
Yeah, there's cheese pizza day, pepperoni pizza day, pizza the works pizza day, and
There's
then
definitely
just,
going to
like,
be a meat lovers.
overall. Yeah, there's
with
a
a
meat
side of
lovers
breadsticks
pizza day. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's National Chili Day, it's National Tortilla Chip Day, and National Toast Day. A lot of carbs.
There's very little like exercise-based days.
Yeah,
There's
not
never.
too many of those.
When is jog more than you walk day?
I'll look it up and
Yes,
I'll let
I'm
you
like
know
I'm
after
not a
the break.
runner, but like I want to be a runner, even though I don't have the knees for it.
Fair.
But like I'll run for a little bit and then I'll walk. I want to know where's that day where you want to cross the threshold of run more than you walk day.
I'm going to look that up right after. But that
Couch to
is
5K day.
this day in history.
All right, we're due up for a break. When we come back, DJ Jazzy Jeff joined me yesterday right after the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, you've already heard it. But if you're not watching us on YouTube, if you are simply listening on the radio, that's coming up next on Talk 107.3. Kevin says, thank God they... I'm not reading that. Talk about the pig story in Tangipahoa Parish. Yeah. By the way, I met Kevin at the grocery store the other day. Good dude. Good dude. I was making crawfish quesadillas, and I needed some jalapenos. But my son also had Louisiana Foods Day at his school the next day, and we were assigned watermelon. Yeah. The watermelon at Calvin's Bocage Market. Now, Calvin's Bocage Market is known for their chicken salad. You can go nowhere else in the world for chicken salad other than Calvin's. So props to them for that. So I go into the produce section, and they get these little cups of watermelon that, like, they're not even single serve. They're like, it would be enough watermelon just to piss your taste buds off. Be like, ooh, that was watermelon. I want more. Sorry, we're out. They need it. So Calvin's great chicken salad, needs to step up their produce game. That's where I'm at. So I ended up passing on the jalapenos. But if I didn't go down the aisle looking for the jalapenos, I wouldn't have run into Kevin. So good to meet you the other day.
There you go. Yeah, things work out in the end.
I ended up going to Albertsons off College. I'm like, I should have just drove all the way. Because I was in the Bocage area.
Oh, okay.
Like, if I had known before I was going out, I would have gone to Mathern's, where I know I can get exactly what I wanted. Mathern's got the little bowls.
Well, they got everything.
Wow.
And I'm not even saying this because we're sponsored. I've been there plenty. They have everything.
Pretty much.
In a very small space, might I add.
Shooting some people outside the school. That's right. Yes. I see. It took me a minute, but I got it. I got some footage of fighter jets in suburban Kyiv.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Oh, yeah. Hey, YouTube, we're going to mute the mics because the interview is going to play. So be back in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Being a child of the 80s and 90s, if you didn't have He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper on cassette, and then subsequently Home Base on CD, then I didn't even want to know you. DJ Jazzy Jeff joins me right now. Jazz, what's happening? How are you, sir?
I am beautiful. How are you?
Could not be better. Well, look, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the classics, but we've got to start off with Bel Air because this is a different take. This is a different look. It's a refresh on a show that you were literally thrown out of a lot. Let's talk about Bel Air, the show, and then Bel Air, the podcast. Let's start with the show. What brought about this I guess, grittier look at the Fresh Prince's story?
You know, I don't know exactly what Morgan Cooper was thinking. I think it was absolute genius. He basically picked the sitcom up from the 90s and said, what would this look and sound like in 2022 if this was real life? And I think he nailed it. You know, I know some people get demo-itis, that they're used to the way something was and they don't want it to change. This is not a remake of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. This is the same storyline, it's the same characters, same subject matters, but it's done in today and it's done, you know, in real life. And I think they nailed it.
We are in a completely different climate today than we were in the early and mid 90s. How does that play into the retelling of these stories?
Well, you know what's funny is, as much as things are different, there's so much that is the same that has not changed. One of the biggest impacts is the fact that we have social media now, and you get a chance to see a lot of the stuff that we didn't see in the 90s. Like, can you imagine what social media would have been like on the first run of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air? So I think taking all of those things and impacting it in is where the direction of the show, the direction of the podcast, because we have more access now.
Now, it is a retelling or a completely different version of the story, but there's got to be some carryovers. What are some of the themes that you remember from the Fresh Prince that are incorporated in Bel Air?
Well, I mean, you know, one of the things that people it's taking a quick second for people to understand that the very first episode of Bel Air is actually the theme song of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like, we've never basically shown the theme song on camera. It was just the song. So if you know the lyrics to the song and you say the lyrics to the song, that is basically the very first episode of Bel Air. And it allows you to kind of go into some of the same stories, but give you a little bit more of a peek, you know, behind the curtain of how we got here. Now you got a chance to see what actually happened that brought Will to L.A.
I think we all know the lyrics to the song. I think everybody in America can sing that song in their sleep. So taking a deeper dive into that. You know, speaking of taking a deeper dive, we're in a new world right now where the podcast about the show is every bit as important as the show, where you're given so much more room to run and unpack what was just watched. What's that experience like hosting the podcast?
It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful because it's not a recap. We're not recapping what happened. You know, it's more of a culture podcast than a recap. And we're able to talk to the story runner, the executive producer, the music supervisors. We're able to talk fashion. You know, we're able to talk hair. We're able to talk culture. You know, on the podcast. So it gives you so much room to, you know, I used to always joke that everybody wanted to know what happened with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere at the end of Pretty Woman. If there was a podcast, we could talk about that.
Absolutely. Everything from outcomes to motivations behind it. You get to explore all this. And in the meanwhile, you're also a character. What's it like watching somebody else take on Jazzy Jeff?
Twilight Zone. It is absolutely a Twilight Zone moment because you're watching someone play someone you played that I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But they're doing an incredible job with it. But this is just, you know, I was just getting used to the idea of me being on a television show. And now I have to get used to the idea of someone playing me being on a television show.
Have you got an interview, you?
That's coming up, which is going to be funny. That's going to be a look in the mirror.
It's interesting you say it's like the Twilight Zone. I thought you would have said it's a nightmare on my street.
I see what you did there.
You like it? You like it? Hey, I got to ask you about being a DJ, and you've been phenomenal on turntables for decades on end. What were some of your influences that got you into DJing in the first place?
Well, my older brothers, you know, and the music that I was surrounded with. You know, I really think that the backbone of DJing is being exposed to music because your job is to translate that to someone else. And I was surrounded by all kinds of music, and it gave me a really big love for it, and I just want to pay it forward.
Absolutely. For what it's worth, the Peter Piper mix might be like the most legendary thing I've ever listened to. It's fantastic. In the meanwhile, is there more music in your future as well? Yes, I've been working on a ton of music, especially over the past 2 years. Has really opened my love back up for making music. So I got a lot of stuff coming out this year. Bel Air, the TV show, is available right now, and of course, you and Aida Osman are bringing the weekly look into the themes surrounding Bel Air. Where can folks get the podcast if they want to get after it?
Listen, you can get you can see the show on Peacock every Thursday. You can get the podcast every Friday after the new episode drops. And you can get it on iHeart, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcast.
Interesting. The last one before I get you out of here, and I know you got to go. Last one, though, is it better to hear the podcast first, then watch the episode, or vice versa?
You should watch the episode first.
Okay. I didn't know if, like, precursors and themes would fall into that.
No, because we don't want to give spoiler alert if you listen to the podcast. Watch the episode first.
Fair enough. He is DJ Jazzy Jeff. Hey, I got to ask, as I said, the last one was the last one. How long did it take your back to recover from Uncle Phil just chucking you out the house that many times?
Listen, I am still rubbing Bengay on my back, so.
I really appreciate a couple minutes this morning. DJ Jazzy Jeff, thank you so much. Bel Air the show, Bel Air the podcast, it's all available now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be available at talk1073.com if you wanted to check that out later. So if you've not yet seen it, there are a couple episodes, and I think episode 5 actually premieres today. And it is weird to look through and see if you're a child of the 90s, as I started the interview, if you're a child of the 90s, and you know, I was born in 76, so late 80s, early 90s was my prime TV watching time for sure. But to see all these characters that you grew up with, but portrayed by different people, it's a little bit different. Like, for example, Jazz, played by Jordan L. Jones. Jordan L. Jones, I'd never heard of before. But, I mean, he's been in a ton of different, well, I shouldn't say a ton, but he's done his fair share of work. This being the most recent. But Uncle Phil is Uncle Phil, right? Bigger guy, judge, stern but lovable. Well, he's played by Adrian Holmes. Adrian Holmes, not nearly the same in appearance. By the way, Jabari Banks plays Will Smith. And Cassandra Freeman plays Vivian Banks. So, it's Christy and I were having this discussion the other day about when has it ever worked, rebooting the TV show. When has that ever worked? We saw a run where there were a ton of movies made out of 80s and 90s TV shows, right? But like Miami Vice, the movie, did not play out. The A-Team was awful. This is grittier. It's definitely different. And it's a completely different take. Sure. Not enough time to get. I see somebody calling in right now. Not enough time to get to you on the air right now, but hang tight. We're going to take a break. We got to check CBS News here at the bottom of the hour. Don't want to get too far away from what's going on the other side of the world. I know we are a local talk show, but if World War III started today, which it kind of did, we should probably keep you up to speed. So, CBS News, then our own local news, traffic, weather. We're going to talk a lot more about what's going on in Russia and how it impacts us next on Talk 107.3. It's about 3 seconds short. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, this is Brian. We're rolling into a break, so it's going to be a couple minutes. You want to talk about Jazzy Jeff? What about him? All right, hang tight if you can. You got 5 minutes for me? Because the news break's kind of long. All right, hang tight. We'll come to you out of the break before we move on to the other stuff. Hold on. Thanks. Oh, wait, what's your first name? Bob? All right, hang tight. I wish you would have gotten in 1 minute sooner. We could have knocked that out. Thank you for answering it, by the way. That's exactly why I like to go to the phones. Now, good chance this guy trolls us. So I'm ready for that, too.
So we're going to have him on air?
Yeah. Kevin says, I enjoyed that interview almost as much as I enjoyed the Super Bowl halftime show. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but that could be taken two ways. Avi Loeb, author of Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. Was that from this show?
Look out for some slower speeds on I-110 traveling between North 22nd Street and Governor's Mansion Curve.
Nice. Glad to hear it, Kevin. Good deal. Went to college in the LBC, so that's a hard one to beat. Jazzy was great, brought back memories. Look, I had I'm the Rapper, He's the DJ on cassette. Like, Parents Just Don't Understand, Nightmare on My Street, they were my jams totally. Up until I got my first compact disc player and got home base with Summertime and Ring My Bell and Dumb Dance. What was the other one? There's a couple other ones on there. The remix version of Summertime at the end of that CD was baller too, better than the radio version. But Summertime was so good. Drums, please. Skip Bertman. Got a lot of stories, a lot of stuff. Oh. Pergy Perg.
Hello, this is Discover, and we take customer service very seriously. We know that if you have a question or concern about your credit card, that's a serious matter, and you need to talk to a real person about it. So we offer around-the-clock access to seriously talented representatives in the USA. Again, it's a serious matter. The only funny thing about it is Bob. If you call us and Bob answers, you're in for a treat. Get 100% US.
How the crisis, or the war in Ukraine affects energy prices in America. Up by 14. Up by 14. Yeah. Why do I have to come off like the cranky pants? Friggin' LSU basketball, get your bleep together. Hey, I'm going to hold off on weather until after this caller. Yeah, cut it out. I'm going to do weather right after. Yeah. You leave it. It's fine. .837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to DJ Jazzy Jeff for hopping on board. You know, I know there's a lot going on, both in the state, which we try to cover as much as we can, and around the world. But it's nice to walk down that nostalgia road every once in a while. And while Bel Air is only 5 episodes in, how many of us don't just relive the theme song? You know, relive the show. Anyway, Bob was nice enough to hold on. He heard the Jazzy Jeff interview, and I sparked a little nostalgia there as well. Bob, welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, man?
Hey, buddy, man. Thank you so much for having him on. Like you said, it struck a little bit of reminiscing with me back in my teenage days. He was the first concert I ever went to out at State Fairgrounds. It was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, and me and my buddies were there to see them, and we didn't really care who the other band was at the time, but when we got out to the fairgrounds, every teenage girl from a Tri-Parish area seemed to be there, and there was another little unknown band back then to us, but they were opening for New Kids on the Block.
What?
At the State Fair, yeah.
You caught DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, so I'm guessing this is early. This is Parents Just Don't Understand time. Not summertime, home base. This was I'm the Rapper, He's the DJ time.
This was Nightmare on My Street. Yeah, this circa 1988 to 90 sometime. I'm not sure the exact year that it happened, but yeah, it was a cool concert, and that was my very first one. I think I was about 16 years old when we went out there. It was a good time.
Very nice.
So it was real cool hearing his voice on your station, man. Thanks for having him.
Absolutely, and thanks for listening. I appreciate that. Yep, absolutely. That was Bob checking out. Imagine that, though, like Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince at the State Fairgrounds. I mean, when you catch lightning in a bottle like that, it's easy when it's someone attached to a bigger name, but it's like a concert. You know you're paying a. Here's a perfect example. went to, I'm going to lose so many people who are older than me when I talk about this. All right. I'm 45 years old. I'm a father of 3. I'm a conservative white male. I do not fit the demographic of being a rabid, and I mean rabid, Lady Gaga fan.
Oh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Lady Gaga came to the UNO Lake. What was it? Was it Lakefront Arena, or was she at the Smoothie King Center before it was the Smoothie King Center? I'm trying to remember which one. I think she was Lakefront Arena. Anyway, this is well over a decade ago. Like, Just Dance was still hot and Bad Romance was on its way up the charts, like around that time.
She was big.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, went to the Lady Gaga concert.
Mm-hmm.
Opening for Lady Gaga was Jason Derulo.
What?
Jason Derulo. Nobody had even heard of him yet. And, what's the song? Ooh, what you say? That one wasn't even out yet. Or it was out, but, like, wasn't even on the charts yet.
Wow.
So, after the show, we're leaving. Your boy Jason Derulo is, like, in the concourse taking selfies with people. Literally ran into him. Christy and I are on our way out. Like, there's clogging up the space, and they got people running up behind us and whatnot, and I physically bumped into Jason Derulo, and he's like, oh, my bad, I'm blocking things. And I'm like, wait a minute, weren't you just on stage like an hour ago? And he's snapping off selfies with everybody, and I could feel it like, I'm already old, right? I'm already the old guy in the room because I don't know who Jason Derulo is yet. Yeah, Ooh, What You Say was, like, just out on the charts. When I watched that show, I was like, in my head is going to be a banger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it was.
Yes, it was.
All right, let's regroup here. There's actual news to cover. I like walking down that other path once in a while.
That's worth
fun.
it. It's
It is worth it. You're darn right. All right, we have got... just got a text from a friend who's going to see Lady Gaga in April in Vegas. That's going to be solid. We got a 75% chance of rain today. Not looking like it's going to be violent rain, but it is going to rain, right? That's going to be today and tonight into tomorrow morning a little bit. In fact, when can you look for the showers to start? Probably later on this evening. I'm looking at around like 9 p.m., might get a little thunder and lightning in the 10 o'clock hour, and then just like lazy rain the rest of the night. That rain is going to bring with it cooler temperatures. Your overnight low tonight gets down to 48. Tomorrow's high tops out right at 52. Tomorrow night's overnight low, 48 again. Spanish Town, high of 59 on Saturday. Not to worry, you're not going to feel it. That's Spanish Town. Everyone's going to be hammered, right? Looking ahead to next week, we got a high of 67 on Mardi Gras and a high of 72 on Mardi Gras Day. Right now, we are at 64 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. So, the Public Service Commission met yesterday, and if you're watching us on YouTube, we have a video element here. If you're not watching us on YouTube and you're listening on the radio, first of all, find us on YouTube, Mornings with Brian Haldane. Find us and subscribe. But you'll hear it nonetheless. Public Service Commission met yesterday, and Lambert Boissier with the Public Service Commission, we're going to hear from him first, speaking out about what the effects of this war in Russia could be from an energy perspective here in Louisiana.
You also mentioned with what's happening in Ukraine, some concerns here in Louisiana.
Absolutely. I think the whole world should have their eyes on what's happening in Ukraine. I brought it up as a local issue to say we need to look internationally. It's very important that we understand that, that we understand what's happening at home, but there are impacts that happen abroad that affect our lives. Because of this, if you pay attention to the news and other feeds and other information that we're getting, this can have an impact on our banking, our interest rates. They may have been already about to go up, but now with the instability around the world, they may more than likely go up, and how that may affect not only individuals, but the utility industry, the bonding market, places like that. In addition to that, things like energy costs may go up because of it, of the scarcity of fuels and other things. So we're paying attention to that. I didn't do a firm directive, but I asked staff to look at the impacts of this war. Another thing that I'm concerned about is if cyber attacks that are being discussed because of the impacts of the instability. Some countries may not like what the U.S. is doing. The U.S. may not like what some other countries are doing. And instead of fighting wars with bombs, we're fighting them with computers these days. And there was a hack on a utility company a year or two ago. I'm asking the utility companies in Louisiana to be prepared for a potential, not definite, but just to be prepared in the case. So we want to keep Louisiana power flowing and all across America. But it's our job at the commission to raise people's attention of these very important issues we may not be paying attention to.
Public Service Commissioner Lambert Boissier. Now, he covered a lot of ground that doesn't necessarily fall under the purview of the Public Service Commission, but it is all nonetheless intertwined. What effects are we going to see back home based off of what's going on technically in Ukraine? Although, anybody looking at this, Russia's not only going to win, they're going to cover the spread, right? Unless you see more international involvement, which so far that's coming on an economic front. But what about on a military front? We'll leave that for the national shows to hash out. I'm more worried about what's happening in our own backyard. Banking, interest rates. Well, those were set to go up anyway, right? Those were set to go up anyway. Will that be accelerated? And what will that do to the job market, particularly the construction market? If banking interest rates are to go up higher than they are currently projected to go up. Every expert we've talked to has said look for about mid-March, April at the latest, to see an increase in the interest rates to help stave off inflation, to help curb the inflation we've been facing. Okay, we can see that. But if that gets exacerbated, will it curb lending or borrowing? Energy costs, Lambert Boissier said, and I think this is probably the biggest one. This should be the biggest takeaway. Energy costs. I got an article on this. Oh, here it is. Gas prices could get rather ugly in the coming weeks as they rise even higher. They're continuing to climb and could get ugly, according to GasBuddy.com. In the Harrisburg area, the story coming to us from Pennsylvania, prices have increased 6.3 cents a gallon in the past week for an average price of $3.72 a gallon today. We're a little bit behind that, but you see everyone's hurting. According to GasBuddy, gas prices in central Pennsylvania are 22.3 cents a gallon higher than a month ago and 87.6 cents per gallon higher than a year ago. The national average price of gas has increased 3 cents a gallon in the last week, averaging at $3.51 a gallon today. Quote, with tensions still very high that Russia may invade Ukraine, obviously the story came from before yesterday, gasoline prices kept moving higher, tugged by the rising price of oil as the market concentrates on possible outcomes from the situation that could affect global oil production amid recovering demand. This according to Patrick DeHaan, the head of petroleum analysis for GasBuddy. DeHaan goes on to say, however, with nuclear talks between Iran and global powers ongoing in Vienna, the possibility exists that a new deal could bring Iran's crude oil supply back to legitimate markets, helping to ease a slight portion of supply concerns. While the proposition remains in the air for the time being, we're also just a few weeks away from the traditional start of the spring surge in gasoline prices brought on by the change to summer gas, seasonal maintenance at refineries, and rising demand. The weeks ahead could be rather ugly with rising prices, especially if Russia pursues a strong-arm invasion of Ukraine, which they have now done. So how bad could it absolutely get? I saw one news outlet speculating, mind you, 100% rumor, $7 a gallon. Now, I'm nowhere near that. I don't see it happening into that level. But if gas prices jump another $1.50, you are talking $5 a gallon. So the next question becomes, aside from striking a nuclear deal with Iran, which I don't think anybody really wants, what can the Biden administration do to give consumers a break? I've heard a couple of different options on this one. Number one, you hear it from Garrett Graves every single week, or darn near every single week. You hear it from Mike Moncla from the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association every time we have him on. Let us get back to work. Let Louisiana get back to work. You heard it from Bill Cassidy sitting in this chair right here yesterday. We do it cleaner. We do it more efficiently. We do it better than the rest of the world. Let us handle us, which I guess could also be translated as let us handle the U.S. Ooh. Why do we have to farm this stuff out to the rest of the world? We become dependent upon them, and now we're faced with the option of trying to negotiate with a bully in Vladimir Putin or throwing Iran a nuclear deal that they want, and we really don't. Or you bring it back in-house. Why does this not seem like a no-brainer? I saw a story yesterday about the possibility of a gas tax holiday. I'm intrigued by it. We're going to look at that at a later time. I do worry that a gas tax holiday wouldn't solve diddly. When you get the school supply holiday, what are you looking at? A rush of people that goes and buys up all the school supplies, but they're needed for a finite amount of time. I don't know about you, but my stops at the gas station are weekly. We'll get back to the Public Service Commission after this break on Talk 107.3. Sorry, I wanted to make sure we had enough for both segments there. We'll go to the I and I-20. I got to stop saying that. I'm going to get in trouble. What? What? How's Guinness going to be more sustainable? Defoyne Stout. There's always a mass exodus at St. James Gate. 'Tis the heavens above us, mating with us. Yep. Oh. The shit is the world coming to when Guinness has to be sustainable? Haven't they given us enough? Toes the rubber. Condom. Terribly written commercial. Oh, man. Oh, I'm sore today. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind setting it up, and then you can leave once we start. Oh, in here? Well, I'll be done by like 9:18. So. Okay. Whew, shit, man. I am so tired. Byron, what the hell do you drive that you have a 6-gallon tank? Like, I thought I had a tiny little car with a Ford Focus, and I've got a 12-gallon tank. 16-gallon tank. That makes... Right? 16 was what he meant. Yes. Tonight just got easier. Tonight just got easier. Hey, Lucas! My dude! Oh, shit. All right, let's get... Oh, I threw away the story about the worms? Oh, well. 856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. One segment to go here. We are going to dive back into the Public Service Commission's meeting. Revisit what Foster Campbell, Public Service Commissioner Foster Campbell, had to say in just a second. Hey, there is a press briefing coming up later on today and a photo opportunity for the next phase of drainage efforts using American Rescue Plan funds. And along with the drainage efforts is going to be the addressing of 1,100 sinkholes in Baton Rouge. Okay, I'm glad to see this. Jake's reaction was exactly my reaction. You remember the 90s sitcom Home Improvement? No, I'm not asking you, Jake. I'm asking the audience. Whenever Tim, the tool man Taylor, heard something he didn't quite understand, his reaction was, 1,100 sinkholes? Comedian John Mulaney has a bit about how quicksand is not nearly the danger I thought it was going to be in my adult life. But turns out sinkholes are. 1,100 sinkholes. The ground's just falling. It's like national treasure. It's just falling out from underneath us. Wait a minute. National Treasure is being filmed here. I'm piecing it together.
We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
I mean, he already did that. He kidnapped the president. What's left?
Doing it again.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Do we have time for Foster Campbell? Because Entergy is jacking up prices. Or, I'm sorry, applying an $8 a month surcharge to us. Yeah. So we're getting a surcharge from Entergy. $8 a month. It's to cover the cost of all the damages they had through the storms. Here's Foster Campbell from the Public Service Commission.
I had some questions for Energy. They wanted $3 billion to build their plants back, and which they have to have. But there's something happening that I'm real concerned about. All these investor-owned companies, Energy, SWEPCO, and CLECO, when they have these damages, they charge it to the ratepayers, and they don't charge anything to the stockholders. So their stock continues to go up. The president of Energy is making $16 million a year, up from $10 million a couple of years ago. They gave $1.5 billion bonuses to stockholders, and the people of Louisiana, the million people in Louisiana, is going to pay for it. So I think the next time we have one of these things they call securitization.
Hey, I'm sorry to cut him off there, but we're just short on time. He's not wrong here. Look, I understand us having to foot some of the bill for the repairs because of where we live and just the nature of things, like literally and figuratively the nature of things. But we're footing an $8 a month surcharge while stockholders are getting paid on the back end? You know, it is possible to tell your stockholders, we just didn't clear anything this time. You're not going to see profit this time around. That needs a little bit further investigation, doesn't it? All right, that's going to do it on air. Stick around on YouTube. We got about 2 minutes left to wrap up. All right, YouTube. I wanted to save this comment just for YouTube. But is it just me? Or does Foster Campbell look like what you would have expected Fred Flintstone to look like at his own retirement party? Bonnie! Like, do you not... Like, when I look at Foster Campbell, and I know there's been a million jokes about him, but I think this one's new. When I look at Foster Campbell, I wonder if Hanna-Barbera had extended the Flintstones out all the way through Fred's retirement. That's what you're getting, right? Yeah, I asked you to stick around for that. Big Friday show coming your way tomorrow. We will see you then.